All right, recording should be live. Welcome everybody to the 1879 actual play. I am Brad Decker. I'm the line developer for 1879. I play the character Nigel Fullmore, and I'm gonna mute out at this point while I get all the announcements going, and we'll let everybody else do the introductions and the recap. That's you guys. Go.
What?
We can never decide who to go first. So
I think it's you, Chris.
all right. Well, my name is Chris. I have done some writing in 1879, particularly the Fort Alice book, and I play the character of Weymont Cromwell, who is a wizard.
I am Joel. I do quite a lot of the writing in 1879. It seems I am playing Morgana, who is a noble, an aristocrat, is the technical term.
I'm Lexi. I'm Lexi. I play the Elf Explorer River.
Hi, my name is Drew. I play Mech, the troll warrior, soldier.
And I'm Michelle, and I play August, who is an elf and an investigator.
I'm Andi, and I got out of bed today. Yay!
Hey, that's a win.
The win! So, who wants to recap?
I can if you want me to.
All right.
Nice.
Let's get to the document. So last time, after having been introduced to our new associate Mac, because our employers have decided that we might need somebody for the rest of us to hide behind in a fight, since we keep finding them, mostly avoiding them, mostly. Yeah.
I mean, it's true. The Mac is like 3 times our size.
Yeah. And given so many elves, a lot of us can hide behind a troll. So last time we had an unfortunate encounter with some strange fairy dormouse creatures whose mother we had slain for being deeply unpleasant in a previous adventure. And we got dragged to Fairy and put on trial for this murder, which none of us were admitting was murder because we're pretty sure it was in self-defense and she started it anyway. The final result of this was us becoming these dormice new mother, which we're not sure might be the best of deals, but we found out we can send them unpleasant items and they can feed off the negative emotions that are attached to those items. And given we keep coming across unpleasant items and unpleasant things, it looks like we have a food source for them. But we are having to deal with the fact that we now have dormice talking us through mirrors and calling us mother. Yeah,
I leave for 1 week. What do you do?
Hey, it could have been a lot worse.
They could have been trapped in the Fey realm on. They could have been trapped in the Fey realm on Walkabout, but instead they adopted possibly somewhat evil Fey children. Pets, something like that.
Either that or the bottle of absinthe that Morgana fed everybody from was much stronger than expected. But we're pretty sure it actually happened, given the mirrors were bleeding and everything.
I am not sure it actually happened.
See, I think of it as when we set the deal up with these Fey mice, they were going to be disposing of, as nature does, the negative energies that otherwise would accumulate and distort things.
Yes. We decided against creating an urban myth of mice who would carry out revenge for you, because we decided that would get misused.
Drew gets 100 AP.
Woohoo!
So they feed off of negative energy that could otherwise build up. That is why you
Yep.
got that. I am not going to, however, explain more. Just that's very insightful. So after they set a deal with their new Fae wards, yeah, there you go. They had kind of a harrowing thing, and they
What the hell?
were deciding that they were going to take a case. There's bad news in the news, which is normal, but not having anything to do with the case at hand. The case at hand, you guys need to go to Scotland.
Yay!
What?
You guys are being hired by a Scottish attorney, and he wants to meet with you as soon as possible.
We're in
Since you
Scotland.
guys-
Oh dear,
Yes, where
do we
in-
get to
where-
hear Andy attempt a Scottish accent?
I
Andy
am
is not
looking
attempting
forward
a
to
Scottish
this.
accent. Andy is not attempting a Scottish accent. She's
Aw,
not very good at that sense.
please.
You just need to laugh. I don't think
think
anybody laughed at that bad today.
I think we need an animation of stick figures and Andy's Scottish accent.
Oh yeah, that's everybody's favorites right there, all together. I probably should tell you where in Scotland.
You probably should.
In one of them places. Hold on.
And does
One
the
of
train
them
run there?
places.
How much time have we had between?
You know, they
Between
have
the
places in
facing and
Scotland
this,
now.
about
Yeah.
a day.
They do. I'm just wondering if it is Glasgow, Edinburgh, Dundee, or Ochton Mochty.
I was double
Pulled up for
checking,
Aberdeen.
and I
They've
actually
got
think,
four
if I
places in
remember
Scotland.
correctly, it's and you might be familiar, St. Andrews.
Yes, St Andrews is just south of Dundee.
So you're going to be in St. Andrews.
Went there
Has a pretty good
to
university.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I nearly went there to do forensic pathology, but my chemistry died somewhere between upper six and lower six.
Ah.
Well, Andy, that one train I showed you in preparation for the train talk string, that one's from Scotland.
Oh, okay.
The green one.
Gotcha. I like trains.
Do
So,
the trains run from London to St Andrews, or do you go to Perth, or how do you get up there?
Edinburgh, most likely.
Yes, Edinburgh is basically... Most trains from London go in the direction of Edinburgh, and then from Edinburgh you go to Glasgow or down to Dundee and St Andrews and whatnot.
Mac, after waiting for a little bit, Mac will ask something like, do you know the gentleman's name or an address? Or have a briefing dossier? Another French word.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Has extra
Yep.
letters, so don't make sense. But yes, the lawyer you're going to meet is George R. Logan, and as far as the rest of it, they will be explaining that when you get there. It's kind of has to do with the case, and it's pretty legal hush hush at the moment. So until he knows that you're taking the case and that you work for them, they're not willing to give out a lot of details.
Pretty legal hush hush, huh? Okay.
You'll understand when you get there.
Do we know anything about this gentleman's reputation?
His reputation is actually, well, let's see if anybody have any ways of knowing his reputation. Or if they've
Secret of
ever
the
heard of it.
Aristocracy is
That
probably
would
my best.
work because it's at least adjacent.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else that might work?
I have growing up Scots.
That would work.
You have what, sorry?
Growing up Scottish?
Oh, I remember now. Yes, because Scotland's such a tiny country, we all know each other.
Yes.
Exactly.
But if he's got a fairly high public
Or-
profile, it might matter.
Or this guy has such a high public profile, is what I was going to say. But yes, thank you. That is exactly
I
it.
have knowledge law.
Knowledge law also works. So for you, for Mac, it's a perception roll, and the
Okay.
other two you have skills that you're rolling.
Streetwise.
Probably not unless you've been up in that area. In
Well, and-
London, he's not a big name.
And Streetwise is more going to be for like the underbelly
Well, you
stuff,
could
not a proper
possibly
lawyer.
need an attorney. You might
I
be like,
mean-
this is a good attorney if you get arrested in Scotland.
I have knowledge finance. I don't know if that would help.
Not really.
I got a 4 on perception.
No, we've really never heard of him, unfortunately. August, you have. He's actually apparently supposed to be a damn fine attorney. Enough so that his name has been bantered elsewhere.
Okay.
Joel,
Yep.
you have as well. And again, he has a very clean reputation. He's one of those attorneys that the aristocracy up in Scotland might go to make sure that their reputation stays pristine, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are we
sorry.
talking a decent sort of solicitor or the sort of person who gets people
No,
off
he's a
and
very
clears people of things? Because both can be good for protecting your reputation, but they're slightly different sorts of people.
so he is very much on the up and level. He doesn't play anything, but he's darn good at what he does. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, he's not having people often thrown into the river, but
Yeah.
if there's a way if there is a legal loophole, he will find it for you. But it will all be legal and on the up and up.
Yeah. So if you need exonerating for false accusations, he's the good sort of person.
He most certainly is.
Yeah. But that said, there's quite a difference between that and the sort of lawyer who just makes bad stuff go away, or solicitor to use. Yeah.
And this guy is a solicitor, and he is apparently a darn fine one. So his reputation does extend to London a bit, but not enough for the streetwise. And Mac apparently does not pay a lot of attention to legal cases in Scotland. Sorry.
It's all good. Very, very
Or
much.
at
Matt.
least
She
just
knows
doesn't
much.
recognize the name.
Yeah, Gran never talked about him. Is it the British Library, the Barbican Library, or the London Library you'd go to find local papers? Like, can we get the Dewins up in St. Andrews? There'd be a delay, of course, but don't they archive everything at one of those libraries?
I'm sure they do. But
British Library gets a copy of every book published in the UK, but I'm not sure about newspapers. And I know they do now, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much in the way of archiving of that sort of thing.
You're going to have a much better
Is it
chance of
currently the
picking
time?
up papers when you're up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just was
They
a
would like you
normal.
up there quickly.
I have a normal Shadowrun prep step, and it's just okay. What do we know about the area, kind of stuff.
Edinburgh, libraries up in Edinburgh are likely to do that, I would think, because I think it is something.
Right. When we transfer trains, maybe we can pick up St. Andrews paper.
Yes.
Yes. That won't be hard to do in Edinburgh on your way through.
Okay. And what is the etiquette for riding on the train here? Do you bring your own like picnic basket, or their services, or like what is that experience
Depends
like
on
in
how
this
much you want
age?
to pay. You can eat on, there are trains that you can go and get food. Like, it's just usually more expensive.
Yes,
And
I
you
don't.
guys can put this on the company card, basically, because travel expenses are covered by the hiring party. I will say, as a troll, you might want to bring that picnic basket anyhow.
Check. I
Because
very
a lot of
sheepishly
times-
go in to talk to. I keep getting her calling her Smith. It's Miss Phoebe something or other.
Price.
Price.
Miss Price. Miss Price. And sheepishly ask if she wouldn't mind helping me pack a picnic basket to head on up to the meeting.
With the long distance trains like that, I'm pretty sure they would have troll size cars.
Troll-sized cars, yes.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, he can
think
totally
that
ride
you
on
would be
the.
Yeah, I don't think you'd
All
be
I'm saying
uncomfortable
is-
or anything.
Troll-sized
that
cars
you
to
can
ride
get
in,
some food.
yes. Probably not a troll-sized bathroom in the car.
Just stand out the back and pee. You're a boy. You're lucky. Much harder on females. Just saying.
I'm going to delicately say I pack appropriately and leave it at that.
Miss
Wisdom.
Price will help pack food
Wisdom.
because a lot of times, because remember, trolls are still newish. It's only been around for a few years.
Mhm.
And companies never want to spend that type of money. You're either going to pay a great deal of money buying basically 3 lunches, or you bring your own snacks. Miss
Yeah.
Miss Price has no problems packing you a picnic basket.
All right.
For 3.
Apparently, the British Library did start collecting newspapers from 1822,
Oh,
as Michelle has just found. I was hunting for what the local paper is.
August, take 100 AP.
Woohoo!
well
Thank
done.
you.
So basically, you guys have time to go home and pack, and then preferably be on the evening train. They're getting like a sleeper car, which might not be as comfortable for Mac, but actually, it's probably like 2 different sleeper cars, possibly 3.
Mm.
And basically, you guys are going to sleep through most of the trip to Edinburgh. Edinburgh?
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. And then you'll have to hire a steam coach or something to. Still going to be a bit of a day or 2 travel.
I think
I
there
would
is
think.
a bridge over. There will be trains up to St Andrews because St Andrews has been around for a while. So
You may just have to change trains.
yeah.
If we've
Anybody have a
got,
problem with you just change trains and get up there?
Yeah.
unless you have a plot for it, that's fine.
Mm,
If we do have a little bit of time before we need to board the train, though, I have a very short shopping trip I want to make.
If it's short, you probably have time.
I just want to see if I can find some sort of a leather worker, armor maker, that sort of thing. I want to get a pauldron, a shoulder uh, guard for my parrot to sit on.
Oh,
I thought your
no.
parrot was 3 feet tall.
It
Yeah,
is.
Yeah, he can still sit on my shoulder.
I don't think
What?
we'll.
No. 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 No.
I mean,
no.
as long as the ceilings are 10 to 12 foot, sure.
Let's not do that.
I
He
don't
can
think there
totally
is.
that. I would
There is.
get 2 so that he can change sides.
Oh, the parrot.
Yeah, because it's heavy. I mean, he has to weigh 20 pounds on one shoulder for very long. I would get one for each side, so he can be like, nope, other shoulder, up on over there.
Well, and having that would also help distribute some of the weight more.
I mean, you would
Just
also terrify all the passengers with the giant bird.
perch on your head.
Well, I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's going to ride on my shoulder on the train, but when we're walking around.
Oh, and by the way, there is not a rail bridge connecting Edinburgh and Fife, which is where sort of St Andrews is. The 4th bridges connecting Fife and Edinburgh since 1890, 1964, and 2017.
Ah, so it wasn't built yet.
So
So
we'll have to go the long way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can still hop a different train, and it'll take you through. It'll go through. I have
Yeah.
little dice. I can make things bigger.
Go up to
It'll take you
Perth.
through Sterling, Perth, and then to Andrews.
Yeah, that looks
There
right.
you go.
Though
Yep.
I believe we've recently had the bridge disaster on the River Tay, which there's terrible poems about. So it's probably an even longer route. But that leads to the terror that is McGonagall, the worst poet ever.
Ever?
So if the parrot's not riding on your shoulders, who's watching the parrot while you're gone?
Oh, they'd have a way where I could check him with the luggage.
Oh, so you're gonna put him in a cage.
Yeah, I
You're
have
gonna
his
create-
cage. I have his cage. But yeah, people travel with animals all the time.
That's true. It says bad things when you lock it in the cage. You're pretty sure River taught it that bad things. Same. River. Teaching the parrot to curse. What the hell?
Well, he'll fit right in Scotland.
That's terrible.
No, we haven't had the Tay Bridge. Oh,
Look,
no,
I don't
we have,
hear
because it's
I don't hear
We
empty.
Chris
have.
arguing with me, so
Stop talking. All right. So, anybody need anything else that they can't get until or need to get before we
how much should I pay for my armor thing?
Not worried about it.
Okay.
It's minimal.
And Matt
It's
picked up a hand
Literally,
mirror.
because
Just
they'll make you
uh,
some fancy ones that you can pay meta for later. Right now, it's pretty much 2 half circles cut out of leather with some straps so that it'll stay on. It wasn't fancy, so it wasn't terribly expensive.
Well, it doesn't need to be anything like custom or anything. Yeah, just a pauldron. That
so-
would be a standard part of a suit of armor. I just don't, of leather armor. I just don't need the full suit.
Right. So it didn't cost that much. I mean, I would say less than what? I don't know. I'm not sure how much it would cost, but it can't cost that much. It's not a huge piece. If you want a fancy one, that'll cost more. Don't worry about it then. All right. Anything else before we get on a train?
Matt picked up a small mirror that he can carry on him so he can show the mice what's going on or talk to them if needed.
Very nice. Very smart. Okay. Everybody gets on a train. Everybody, Mac, I hate to be this way. You probably were not overly comfortable on the train. I'm just going to be honest with you.
I keep
However,
a stoic
you all
face.
make it, and you do have a little time in between train things. However, they do keep your luggage and will move your luggage to the next train. So you don't have to worry about what's going to happen with your luggage. Although there were some concerns about a parrot there that they want to talk to you about.
Yeah, I'll have
First
to.
off,
Well, I have to feed him and stuff at some point when we change over.
yes, and they would like you to know that he has a foul mouth.
Morgana will
And
go
that
and
he
apologize.
almost bit somebody's
When they
finger
talk
off
about
when
his
they
foul
tried to move
mouth,
the
I will
cage.
just point at River.
Morgana will distribute danger money.
And then one of them complained that he swears that the parrot tried to bite his finger off.
What the parrot? No.
The parrot, who seems relatively docile for the most part, does not seem to like that guy, by the way. So anytime he goes to try to move the cage, the parrot does try to bite him.
Is he a cat person?
Don't have
Not
cat
that
people
his
in this
boss
town.
knows of. If you dig into it a little bit, he may or may not have been taunting said parrot before he went to try to move the cage.
Well, then it's his
Other
own
people
damn
can move the
fault.
cage and don't seem to be getting bit at. But whatever that guy said, it pissed off the parrot, and the parrot doesn't like him.
We'll find him a nice cat to eat.
Steady on.
Yeah, I
Steady on.
swear.
As for Mac, you can easily find some papers. They have St. Andrews, Perth, Edinburgh, Glasgow. You can find papers for most of your major near-ish cities.
Uh-huh.
And the train station is actually a good place to look for them because you have people traveling who might want from where they're from. So,
Yep.
I'll skim those and share them with the others, highlighting anything that looks like it might be of interest.
Okay.
so
Also, just a note for
I
future
guess it would
reference.
be perception. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would familiarize. I'd go into bodyguard mode on the train and kind of familiarize myself with both the interior and exterior, keeping an eye toward, climbing, running around, lines of sight, all of those sorts of things.
Where's my exit and where's their entrance?
Exactly. And the shortest distance between 2 points is a bullet.
Now you sound
See,
like my
there's a
dad.
reason why I like Mac.
This
Now you sound like my dad.
this guy.
Hey, hey,
Alrighty.
that's 2 for Plan A.
I was about to accuse River of ventriloquism.
Well, actually, I want to be clear. Mac will never start a fight. Mac will finish a fight.
Okay.
Sounding more and more like my dad by the moment.
River
my
will finish a fight before it starts.
Yeah, and my perception
Also,
roll
now
you
we need to
requested
add-
was
Go ahead.
my perception roll that you requested. D10, rolled a 10, re-rolled a 4, so total 14.
That's good. I was gonna say the next thing you have to say is that you never take a knife to a gunfight, and the second half of that is assume all fights are gunfights.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else looking through the papers? Perception and/or something better if you have a skill set that you think works.
I have
I
research.
Yeah, I guess I'll
Research
look through
works.
the papers. Because I mean, I have research also.
I also have research, but I also have evidence analysis.
Research is the
Also
skill
good,
for
whichever
everyone.
one's bigger. Whichever one is higher and helps you out better.
I get to
Evidence
break out my new
analysis,
Hearthstone
just.
dice now.
I will put my result in the chat.
Yep. I think Morgana gets gets distracted by the fashion pages or something.
Hearthstone dice don't fail me now. Come on.
Or
You
whatever
can
the
do it.
latest aristocracy scandal is.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows there's one of those every week.
I rolled 12.
Probably something her brother's up to.
Yeah, Morgana checks those just to make sure it's not her brother mostly.
I'm saying nothing.
It's not about your brother.
What if it is? What are you going to do about it?
Scold him severely.
Like that'll work.
Hands on hips, disappointed sigh.
Just because you didn't think of it, dear sister.
No comment. Given we have a long train ride during the train ride at some point, Morgana will ask River if River is her surname or given name.
It is a variation of the surname.
Hmm.
Maeve Avalon.
Wait, your name's Maeve Avalon?
Yeah.
Why do you go by
Oh.
River?
The River Avalon?
Because Avalon is literally river.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Oof.
Maeve Avalon sounds so much nicer than River. I think.
Hey, stop that.
You
Why
never
you gotta
know when
talk
you're
about
going to deal
everyone?
with the Fae, and there are certain reputations that I don't want to tarnish with being an elf.
I honestly think your family should be proud. Should have more reason to be proud of you than anything else. But
Yes, but when your family deals in trade and people are, people, that it
Oh,
they could not afford to lose the business that they had.
that's understandable.
And kind of a shame, really.
Mm.
Are we going to go directly there, or just a request? Can we stop at the bottle dungeon?
I'm sorry, can we stop
Oh.
where?
At the bottle dungeon?
The bottle dungeon?
The grimmest of Scotland's many castle dungeons.
I
Oh.
mean, you mean the Edinburgh?
They
dungeon?
did want you. The lawyer did want you guys fairly ASAP.
Gotcha.
We can
We'll
do
have a
sightseeing on the way
return
home.
trip.
So Brad and so Nigel and Mac, you both see that there's some case that this lawyer you're going to visit has recently taken on, so his name is attached to it, and it seems to be the murder of some, and I'm going to spell this wrong, but Louis Gastov de Valios.
A hell of a name.
August.
Mhm.
So the woman accused is an Amelia Ann Carter. You're pretty sure she is from a very wealthy, not titled, but it's one of those merchant families that gets really high end, right?
Mhm.
So a very wealthy merchant family. And she's been accused of basically being a poorly behaved harlot, and that's putting it nicely. Like they sort of code it, but they don't really. But basically, she's a fallen woman who has killed her lover.
So I had it in
And
there.
that is what the papers are saying.
A Jezebel.
Well, Morgana likes her already, but
So he's the defense attorney or prosecutor?
He's the defense attorney. He's Amelia's attorney.
That reminds me, we ignored the women being killed in London.
I didn't ignore it.
Isn't
It's just
ignored.
not our job till we're
Well,
hired
it's
for
also
it.
there's not. When you get back, there might be some more information in the news on it.
Okay,
what's
It's
the
not so
lot
much
for us to
ignored,
follow up
it's
on
just
it?
something else that's happening in the world.
understood. Priorities. Yes, sir.
Well,
Cases we can actually have leads on.
So that is what you pick up in the paper, reading through it. August. Yeah, you are well aware that the court of public opinion has already found Miss Carter, well, to be a Jezebel and therefore obviously guilty.
Oh, clearly.
Like, the court of public opinion has basically found her guilty without the trial, without a lot of evidence coming forth, mostly a lot of conjecture and hearsay. And, some friend is saying that he was telling them about how she was trying to kill him. And so, therefore, let's just be honest.
Mhm.
She's a Jezebel who was dallying outside of marriage. What more do you expect from someone like that?
Mhm. He will make some notes and pass them round.
Well, your mother would be very angry with you if Morgana did that.
That would be a
Because
definite plus point.
it's one thing for you to be running rampant, doing stuff that she doesn't approve of, but I mean, the scandal, the fall from grace for the family, it's a thing.
Have you met Mordecai?
I will, given Morgana's distraction, I will point out the information and ask Morgana
Yep.
if she knows anything of Amelia's reputation.
I can have a try with secret aristocracy, which may or may not quite apply, but ooh, 14.
It's
You're about the only
adjacent.
one who has that, so yeah.
And we allow adjacent. It's just a little harder and the more adjacent you get, the harder it gets. But yeah. Ooh. So you don't know much about her herself. She came out. What, usually at 16 is when they do coming out?
Yes, yeah.
So she came out a few years ago. You're thinking 3, 4, but you're not sure you can put your finger on it.
Yep.
She didn't make much of a splash. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
If she was something very sensational, you would have heard more, even as far away as, St. Andrews or Perth or Glasgow or something like that. Because if it makes a big enough splash, a lot of times they will then take the time to go to London and see if they
Yeah.
can make an even better match, right?
Yeah.
So the family is, again, they're a shipping, import, export type of business.
Yeah.
Her father has done quite well. Their reputation is a big deal because whether you know this exactly or not, the truth of the matter is it's like most of those families, the next step in the stepping stone is marry the children off to some sort of
Marry
minor
some.
aristocracy.
Yeah, marry the title and put up with about 3 generations of being snubbed by high society, snorted up behind fans by high society.
And now you are. Yeah.
Morgana,
The
do you know anything about Monsieur de Valois?
Valois, I think. Or
De
So
Val? De Valois?
the
Valois. De Valois is how I would pronounce that at a guess, but
De Valois. Yeah.
French
I
is
can't
silly. I think
Effectively,
we've already established this.
I will say
Louis
this.
Gustave de
What
Valois.
you do know about it, that name, is that is definitely a aristocratic name in France.
It sounds French aristocratic, but they've been
You
all
don't
over the place
know
since losing the Franco-Prussian War. So, and even worse over
the
the last 100
Valois.
years.
There you go.
so he
Brad
doesn't
is
have a
pronouncing it
reputation
wrong.
as a cad that you know of.
Not that I've
You've
ever been
never
warned
heard of
about.
this guy.
I've
You have no
honestly
idea
never
who he
heard
is.
of him.
That name sounds familiar, if that makes sense. The name sounds like a French aristocratic name that you've heard of, but you've
I,
never heard of a Louis Gaston.
I may have heard of something about the family, but I can't place him as an individual. So
Maybe not a cad then, but perhaps a bounder.
just a very careful cad.
Andy, with the Carters being a trade family, would knowledge trade routes work?
Yep. It would.
I got
Smart
a
move.
12.
12. You've heard of the Carters. They're solid. They have been for years. They've been growing for years. They are now probably one of the, if not the biggest import exporter in Scotland. They actually have several children. There's like 5. Otherwise, you think Amelia's the oldest of the 5, but that's probably all you know. But they are solid. They have a very good reputation. There's never really been any scandals involving them.
Who's the second biggest trade company?
I will go look that up. Oh, I know this one. Actually, I will go and double check though. Just because. There it is. Dunaid? Dunaid?
Sorry, I'm laughing at the picture Brad's posted.
I think it's one N. AID. There you go. Bing. Dunaid. I like it. That would technically actually be a little more time than what you had made or got a hold of. Because putting in the bar, and yeah, it would have to be bigger.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that's what I got, but just I was just looking at pictures for it.
I like the period on it, and if you're gonna do that, you should personalize it with your parrot's colors. I'm just saying. All right. Anything else? Otherwise, you are on the train into St. Andrews.
What was the? How do you spell the second largest again?
Dunaid, Dunaid.
It's in chat.
I put the picture up on the stream for anybody, if anybody is watching or watching the recap, to know what I'm talking about.
Good
Do you
plan,
have anybody
because it's
watching the
adorable.
stream just now?
So, gone. You guys are now in St. Andrews. There's a steam
Excellent.
coach there to meet you. You are taken to a hotel. At this point, it's probably later in that evening. You guys have basically been on trains for close to 24 hours with all the stops and getting people on and off and everything else.
Shower and refresh ourselves.
There is a note saying that basically the barrister would like to see you guys first thing in the morning.
Excellent.
Like 9 a.m.
So we arrive like in the evening on the 18th then?
Yeah. Basically, you traveled mostly overnight and then this last bit during the day. And unfortunately, just with the stop and get people off, get new people on, it just takes some time. So literally, you guys have been on the train for almost 24 hours. So you're given the chance to basically find dinner, clean up, freshen up, get some sleep, not on a train.
Oh, excellent.
And then,
couple of glasses of whiskey.
yep. And then
Bed.
meet
Yep.
Logan
I
Esquire in the morning.
I have a role-playing request that doesn't have to take any table time, but just very briefly. I'd like to go to the bottle dungeon with the mirror and feed the mice and say a little prayer for all the Protestants who died, and then come back.
Is in St. Andrew's Castle.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fabulous idea. It's a little creepy when you hear that, "Thank you, Mother." But other than that, goes well.
Well, it'll disperse some of the negative energy there and send a blessing, so that's all right.
Like I said, it's just a little creepy. All right,
And
everybody, anything else you're doing in St. Andrews before breakfast? Well, until
I have
meeting
one thing I
time
was
then.
confused by. Barristers and solicitors, are the barristers the one in court and the solicitors the one that do the clerking outside court? Or is there
Yes.
something
I'm
in the
not sure what the difference is in this time period.
Barrister in court, solicitor out of court, though
for the
Scotland
research
might
and
have
stuff?
Scotland might have slightly different terms because the Scotland actually has its own legal system that is separate
They
from
do.
English law.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They even have, okay, so American law and English law has guilty or not guilty. They have a third one, which is not proven.
Yeah.
which means they think they're guilty, but there's not enough proof. Like it's not quite as different as French law, but it is different than English American law.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do
So-
hear that they're going to abolish that soon. I heard the not proven.
Really, it still exists?
Yeah.
I thought they would have
Yeah.
gotten rid of it already, but no, it's a thing, and I thought that they got
It's
rid of it in the mid
It-
1900s, but I could very much be okay.
Well,
So it says
technically,
in
America
Scotland-
has a third plea as well for no contest, but that's not
But
used very often.
no contest isn't the same. So
No,
no
it's
contest
not the
is done
same. I'm just
before
saying it has a
trial.
third category.
But it's not this. It's not a. That's not a trial finding category. No contest is basically a plea that you give before. So it's actually like when you're pleading, I'm not guilty or I'm guilty, no contest. What this is a trial outcome. It's the jury finds you guilty, not guilty, or not enough evidence, not proven. So the difference being pre-court really versus we went through a trial and found you. So they have a third trial outcome.
America has that too. It's jury nullification.
That is not the same. That means the jury couldn't decide. That's not the same as they found you. This is a they agree that you're either guilty, not guilty, or that it wasn't proven,
Or,
which is not the
mistrials
same
and
as
that sort of
you
thing.
couldn't.
Because the American
Yeah,
legal
so
system
mistrial
defaults
or
to innocent until proven guilty.
right. So
for those
it's
interested,
different.
there's a in Scotland the equivalents of barristers are advocates and the equivalents of solicitors are lawyers. So it's advocate and lawyer in Scotland.
Okay.
Leave it
I'm
leave
gonna
a
be
bunch of
really
to a bunch of
awful and
tabletop
very American.
RPGers to rules lawyer about lawyering.
Totally is. However, I, as a GM, am going to just say whatever attorney S word I use counts.
Check.
Check.
Because gosh darn it all,
Understood.
it's hard enough to keep track, let alone foreign and then time period wise. So
Yeah.
attorney person wants to see your happy asses at 9 a.m. You are welcome.
Excellent.
I swear, I will say this. So anybody listening, this is part of what I actually love about 1879 and the players is like, this is some education. I'm telling you, you ever want to know crazy stuff, this is the people to find it.
It's not a real 1879 session if you haven't looked something up on Wikipedia.
Right?
It's a very educational game.
So is it really doing your GM homework if you weren't reading, law journals from, certain time periods before the game?
Yeah.
By the way, new skill set for me, reading law journals. Medical journals I got very, very good at. Now we're going to work on law journals. All right.
I got a book this week that I'm entirely reading it because I've referenced it a couple of times in this game and a couple of times in other 1879 games. So I thought I better read it just so I can reference it properly.
What book is it?
Carmilla, which is one of the first, not the first vampire fictions, but a vampire fiction that was released in early 1870s that is basically the source and based the basis of pretty much every lesbian vampire story that Hammer Horror ever did.
Yep. Now we just have to make everybody start listening to operas because there's some excellent operas that come out in this time period. What? Don't judge me. I judge all of you.
If I remember right, my favorite opera singer is from this time period.
Who's your favorite?
I can't remember her name, but she broke into a nunnery just to get with a nun.
Oh, I think she's a little earlier, but yeah, I know who you mean.
All right.
I have at least one picture of her in one of my 1879 picture references.
Anything else that I should know about before 9 a.m. and you guys are at the barristers, lawyers, attorney, advocate?
None of us are breaking into the local nunnery to be with any of the nuns.
I have no proof of that until you tell me.
That's the one.
I I can totally believe you people were breaking into nunneries. I'm just saying.
For marching order, Mac will be in the back, keeping an eye toward the party's rear.
Can I make a bodyguard suggestion?
Sure.
So everybody always, especially it's a very American thing to like open the door and let ladies in first and to be right, is the worst thing for a bodyguard to do is to let the possible target into a room he hasn't been through. So I think the bodyguard should be in the front.
Okay.
Now,
Done
to
deal.
each their own, and you may disagree with me.
No,
but
I'm fine with that.
I was gonna say River can be taking point.
We're also going to a
River is
lawyer's
likely
office,
to shoot
so
things. There shouldn't be much scare.
Yeah, I in my mind, I thought my personal thing was Mac is very intimidating. When Morgana would signal that she wants to take an intimidation approach, Mac will go first. Otherwise, he'll take the rear, and River will take the front for point. She's very sensitive to what's going on around her. But that can be
That works. No.
of
It's up to you guys. It's always been one of those things that you watch movies and stuff, and the bodyguard lets people just get into doors and buildings and rooms, and you're like, if there was a bad person in there, you were at the end. What are you doing? It's a weird thing that I've always thought about.
Yeah. I always think about
All right.
vetting a location before you allow the target or the football in, but it's all good.
That
Not
type
always
of thing.
possible. Yeah.
All right. Opening the door is totally August's job. All right.
And if we're doing SWAT
You
drills,
guys get
probably
there,
August opens the door and then River goes in with the shotgun.
It's a very low-key building, but if you know what you're looking for, it's a very well-kept building. It is a very well-maintained building. It is a very posh building. It's just kept very subtle. You guys are welcomed in, and there is for lack of a better term, some sort of clerk who shows you into a room, brings a tea cart around. They have, maybe not the best selection of biscuits, but tea, coffee, water, biscuits, British biscuits, not American biscuits.
Excellent.
So you guys are not there, but maybe a few minutes, just enough time to get served before a lawyer walks. Obviously, a lawyer. He looks like a lawyer. He walks like a lawyer. Pretty sure he's the lawyer. And a young lady. Let me see if I can get you a somewhat picture of her. Because I tried to make one, but again, me and a certain machine didn't get along. I know. Unheard of. I will go up. So part of the problem is that the pictures I got this stupid AI to do were always way prettier than what she actually is going to look like, because the AI is evils. That's what it is. AIs are evils. There's the picture. I just need to transfer it to you guys. I need to fix the name on it. All right. So the woman who comes in after, she's very young. You're gonna guess maybe 18 to 22. You're not totally sure off the top of your head. Why are you being hateful?
Because it's a machine.
Because that is absolutely what it is. Because it is a machine, and by default they hate me. I'm trying to rename the file with her name so that if you guys open it later, you can. It has her name as the name on the file. And it's being a something or other. Okay, give me a minute. I'll work on that. She's
I'm going to eventually be writing up a
dark
skill
hair.
for mechanical empathy, which is
It'll be
magical
the
and
anti-Andy.
basically lets you talk to machines and understand them. And yeah, I'll need to make a relevant, just opposite skill.
It'll be the that's the anti-Andy, and the other one's the Andy skill.
Yeah, pretty
Ta-da.
much.
There you go. Now I will put her name on it. Da-da-da. All right.
Just to check with the dates, are we arriving on the Monday or the Sunday? Or arriving at the solicitors?
Well, we arrived on Saturday the 18th, so they wanted us in the morning, so that would be Sunday.
Yeah.
It's important enough that even though it's a Sunday, they don't
Yeah,
care.
that's kind of what.
Aha. Boom, there's Amelia Carter. So young, dark hair. She's not ugly, but she's not stunning. She's a little homely.
I'm sorry, where was the picture posted?
It's posted up in the thread, the text part.
The Andy's name?
Yes.
Hasn't
not show
arrived
it?
yet.
There,
There it is.
There it is. There it is. Okay.
I'm sorry. I should yell at the technology more. So much yelling.
That's okay. Just need to get down the tubes to us.
There we go. But yeah, like she's not unattractive, but she's not, something stunning, which would make a lot of sense for what Morgana said. Yeah, you probably, because you rolled really well, there was somebody who came out, the family's name's familiar, but she didn't make a big enough splash to be the talk of the season type of thing.
Yeah.
So she comes in and she's looking down mostly. They both sit at the front of the table. And Mr. Logan says basically something along the lines of, thank you so much. I apologize about the need for, speed and discretion, but both of which literally are a matter of life and death.
Obviously, we are happy to assist.
Good first impression roll, Joel. Morgana. He nods and there's a smile. I wouldn't call it truly a smile, but maybe some upturns at the lips in the acknowledgement of lawyer version of warmth.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce you, Miss Carter. Miss Carter has found herself in dire circumstances at the moment. And what we need, what she needs, what I need, is for you to find out everything you can about a Mr. Louis Gestoff. I'm going to go look up how Devala. And he will put a folder down, and the folder is going to have some very minor information, which I will get to in just a second. Because I'm going to go get you his picture, I think, too. Unless it's incredibly hateful, too.
I'm just going to pop on mute for a second. I'll be back in a moment.
Absolutely. It's actually nice that Chris is here because as someone who knows a bit, It helps
Did
to
you
like no, that's a
Did you
thing.
hear that, Chris? You
That's
know a
not
bit.
proven.
I do.
You know a bit.
I-
Like, well, but the Scottish law system is different and things like that. Like, it is a thing.
I'm assuming we're just waiting for Joel to get back.
Yes, and I'm going to put up a picture for you.
Okay.
But this goes back to the getting some technology to not hate me while I'm doing it, so I can rename things. Because I'm going to rename it with the correct name.
See, the trick, Andy, it's not important on whether or not it hates you. The important part is that it obeys.
It does not.
Oh man,
obey.
dude, that is something. No. Psych test.
I'm going to put his picture up here too.
There was a post I saw a while ago for where you get the difference between tech enthusiasts and IT workers. And the tech enthusiasts are like, everything in my house is connected. I have Wi-Fi, a smart fridge, I have a smart toaster. And then you get the IT people who goes, the only piece of technology in my house is a printer from 20 years ago, and I keep a loaded shotgun on the desk nearby in case it makes a noise I don't recognize.
We might need to hear it. What are you crunching? Is it good? I just,
It was tropical muesli.
I don't know if
granola.
that's good. Is it good?
It was.
Oh, great.
It was very
I mean-
Well,
tasty.
then there you go.
I mean, 1879
All
is a little bit of a crunchy system.
All right. We have everybody back?
No, Joel's not quite back yet.
But you can splash the picture around on the thing, Brad, because you have another picture.
I have
He's
been.
nearly
Yeah.
back.
I was waiting for you to get started before I put it on the stream, but yes.
Oh, okay.
But I showed the other
I
one.
have returned.
What, Miss
Woo.
Frog? What, Miss Frog? Come here. You want popcorn? Cookie. Good girl. Oh. What? You jealous? Okay, Hoser. There you go. Dre, you want a piece of popcorn too? Since Joel's back? Nope. Okay. All right. So he puts down a piece of paper or a folder. It has a picture in it, and it has some like an address. There seems to be a landlady's name. There's a list of like 4 or 5 friends for this person. But that seems to be, oh, there's an employee where he's employed. Which I know you're going to be super shocked. He's employed by Carter Import Export and apparently works in their warehouse.
I take it this
Soon
is
as you guys
the
have a chance.
information for Mr. de Valois.
Yep.
What sort of role did he play in the warehouse?
He literally just moved boxes around. He was just a trying to think of what the correct term would be.
Stevedore? Yeah.
I think that would still technically be called a porter.
Yeah.
Porting goods
I guess
from one place to the other.
Yeah.
But he is a low man on totem pole at the warehouse.
This guy with the fancy name.
Either porter or general laborer.
People with fancy names do sometimes come down in the world.
I will give her a
Does anybody
flat
say
look.
something
It's
like
a-
that
It's just a
about the
French
guy with the
name.
fancy name? Does anybody say anything like that out loud?
Yes.
Yes.
If it's coming up that with a name like that he was working as a labourer, yes, it will.
Miss Carter goes, oh no, see, he's actually he's a minor French aristocrat. He's just been, there was some family And she kind of putters off.
So he's
The
a bit of a
lawyer is
black sheep.
giving her a look like, really? Really? And then he'll look at you guys and say, Mr. de Laval claims to be minor French aristocracy. There's almost no possibility that he was anywhere near any French aristocracy. And I'm not even sure that that's actually his proper name.
I would imagine
It is,
not.
however, the name he's been was using.
If
So
we
I'm
may
trying to
ask,
take notes. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
this is addressed mostly to Amelia. Amelia, what actually happened to the best of your knowledge? I presume we've read there was something of a romance between you?
She turns almost mottled. Like the embarrassment is so fast and bright that it's not just like a pretty blush. It's almost a mottling that goes up her neck and into her cheeks.
Morgana will reassure her, don't worry. This is the 1880s. Ladies are allowed to have romances.
The lawyer gives you a look and raises an eyebrow, and she goes, "No, we're not." Amelia looks at you and says, and it's kind of a thin voice, and she just looks at you and goes, "No, we're not.
Oh.
I I I made a mistake. I believed I was in love. I And the lawyer actually brings his tone down a bit, and he kind of pats her, and it's very much like a pat, right, on the hand.
Morgana will.
Discretion is their company is well known for discretion. Everything said here is under attorney-client privilege. No one's going to run to the papers, and quite frankly, not to seem harsh, my dear, but the papers are already going to learn more than you ever wanted them to. So be upfront with them and tell them what you've told me. So what Amelia then goes into telling you is that this man, Louis, bumped into her about 4 years ago on the street. And it was an accident, and he was so charming, and he sent her a rose later, just a single red rose, apologizing for bumping into her, and it was just so romantic. And she started seeing him, usually with other people there. They got more serious. She shouldn't have. Her family found out about the relationship. Her father forbade it. Basically, no one believed that Louis was a down on his luck aristocrat, and quite frankly, her father didn't care. Louis is, in case you can't tell by in the pictures, a good 10, 12 years older than her. Her father found it completely unsuitable. She says that she was still in love. They were meeting clandestinely. They sent letters to each other. She doesn't have any of the letters because she put them in the fire, because if she got caught with them, she would be in a lot of trouble. Her father then found someone he found more suitable. And at first she didn't care for the man. His name is Thomas, by the way. But then she grew to care for Thomas, and she tried to break things off with Louis, but he threatened to kill himself if she didn't stay with him. And she was stuck between a rock and a hard place. She still tried to break it off. She didn't want Louis to kill himself, but her parents were never going to approve of him. And she didn't want to become a spinster, and she felt very trapped. Louis threatened to take the letters that she had sent him to her father. And she didn't know what to do, and she basically said that she wouldn't leave him, but she was continuing the relationship with Thomas, and they had become engaged, and they were going to be married soon, and she wasn't sure what to do. And then Louis started to get sick. and he had these bad episodes. And then suddenly he passed. And she knew when the police were looking into it that they would find the letters because he had the letters. And once the letters came out, then her family would know that she had been indiscreet. And everything was going to fall apart, but it was so much worse. Not only did the letters get found, and her parents now know Thomas has disavowed any interest in her ever. He's completely out of the picture. Her family would like to send her to a convent, except for she's being accused of murdering Louis. And she swears she hadn't even seen him for the last few weeks before his death. And she comes off distraught and embarrassed and a little lost. Morgana might know that there's very little chance that she's ever had much dealings with law, lawyers, let alone police, things like that.
Yeah. Morgana will be distinctly on the sympathetic side with her. I've made a conversation roll, as you will
Yes.
do that. I will
The lawyer will kind of come in at the end of her general synopsis, right? And he will say, the charges are quite serious. If found guilty, it could go very poorly for Miss Carter. I believe you are all from London and probably have not heard of the case, but to put it mildly, the court of public opinion has already found Miss Carter beyond guilty. What I need is a way to prove that it's not so cut and dry, or even proof that Miss Carter did not do this.
Miss Carter is as much the wronged party in this as anyone else. Yes.
Exactly.
I've made an empathic sense roll as well because I will have been trying to get a read on her because she might just be a really good actor.
So empathic sense, she feels guilty. It is hard to tell whether that guilt is because she societally has done the wrong things, has embarrassed her family, and now is it that, or is it that she actually had something to do with his death? That's much harder to read. But she definitely is wallowed in guilt.
It's guiltiness that's being reflected by her actual obvious manner as well, with the way she's talking about things and blaming herself for not doing the right thing.
That guilt comes through.
Yeah.
And it came through in how she was talking. And I mean, even the things like when you're like, it's the 1880s, women can, and she looked at you and there was a sense of, in her eyes, a little bit of lost hopelessness in the, no, we can't. I mean, she didn't quite go as far as to look at River and go, well, maybe that one could, but the rest of us can. Don't kill me, River. I love your character.
Look at the lawyer. So, how did he die?
Arsenic poisoning.
Do they think it was suicide, perhaps?
No, they absolutely believe that Miss Carter poisoned him. And Miss Carter does admit to having bought arsenic twice.
Why?
Before his demise. She this time she turns red, but it's not the deep mottled that it was before. This is a little closer to a blush. I told them it was to kill rats. It was for my complexion. Lady Haverdene's School for Women highly recommended it to help with complexion.
I see.
The lawyer will look at you and tell you that Iocane powder, yes, of course it had to be. No, arsenic. Morgana, you want to give me some sort of perception roll? Because I guarantee Morgana will know this, even if no one else does. Nigel
Yeah.
might.
About arsenic?
About arsenic as a beauty thing.
Yeah, no, that was very common.
It is, but
A
Morgana's
9.
character, a 9, actually very much used and very much
Yeah.
recommended upon certain circles for beauty things, not just with women, but men too. The lawyer will tell you that she bought it twice. She bought it at a apothecary local to, like, the nearest one to her home. She did not try to use a false name or hide it. It does, however, say that she bought it for killing rats. Rat arsenic is not the same as because people did drink it too because they thought it had health and beauty things if you drank it or used it on your skin. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, people were dumb.
Arsenic wafers, yeah, no, this was a thing. Okay. So she admits to lying to the apothecary about what its use was, but she did not buy it to poison him. The lawyer will say that she bought it locally. Yeah. The lawyer will also tell you that he had an episode with this sickness, before she bought the arsenic. And it doesn't make any sense that she would have bought the first set someplace farther out using a fake name and then switched to her real name and nearby. So in his mind, it doesn't make sense if the guy had episode 1, then she buys arsenic and he has episode 2, then she buys arsenic and he has episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah.
There are some friends of his that have been apparently telling the news that he thought she was trying to kill him. There is apparently a journal that the prosecution has that he has been working quite diligently to have thrown out of court. He believes that it will be thrown out of court. Now, legally, the grounds for throwing it out of court are that this journal is one-sided and can't be questioned. There's nothing that collaborates this journal, and you can't question Louis because he's dead. But the journal does not paint her in the best of lights. And a lot of the stuff in the journal she claims is untrue. The journal was apparently started after she initially tried to break up with him. And it says things like they met and then he got sick and things like that. Also, the friend saying that she's trying to kill him, that he was claiming this happened in about that same time period before he started to get sick. And yet, supposedly, he kept meeting with her, even though he's telling all of his friends that she's trying to kill him and he just wishes she would come out with this so that they could talk and settle things between the two of them for their love's sake. But for the lawyer, and he has this very distasteful look, no one in their right mind goes back and sees someone if they honestly believe they're being poisoned by that person. It's ridiculous. Like, it's dripping with disdain. Utter poppycock.
What were the symptoms of his illness?
Major stomach upset. It actually all works completely with arsenic poisoning. He was seen by a doctor on at least one occasion for this stomach distress. They did not at that time believe it was arsonist. They just felt like he had some sort of stomach bug issue, whatever. However, all of the signs are that it would be arsenic poisoning. They're all consistent with arsenic poisoning, including the episode before she ever bought any arsenic. He realizes that they don't have a lot of background on this guy other than the names of a few friends. And most of those, to be honest, he's gathered from people who want to tell the news. So whether or not they're truly his friend or they just want their name in the paper, he does where he worked at the warehouse, that's known. And because the Carters own it, you're going to have free run to talk to anybody at there as you want. The landlady is an easy one. Also, the woman who called the doctor right before he passed away, that woman is a known police have interviewed her. And the doctor, and then there's the the examining physician for the autopsy. But as far as the guy's history, honestly, the lawyer seems to think he's a grifter. However, because apparently the lawyer and the father and all agree that that guy was not minor French aristocracy down on its luck. Who he actually is, they're not sure, but they don't believe that story. That is, Joe put in Morgana. Friends poisoning him and using her as a cover. That's feasible. If you ask the attorney, he'll tell you that's feasible. So questions for the attorney?
Accidental overdose of arsenic.
Also feasible.
Another
Well-
ongoing health condition that looked like that has similar symptoms to arsenic poisoning.
There was arsenic found in the autopsy, that a high enough dose to have killed someone. However, technically, if he was using arsenic and he had some sort of health thing that didn't allow his body to absorb it or to absorb it too much or something, I mean, something like that's feasible. But there was like 84 particle, there's numbers, but basically arsenic poisoning.
I'm going to make a physician roll, and I'm looking for illnesses that would mimic arsenic poisoning for the symptoms.
Okay. What were you going to say, Drew?
Two things. Mac also has physician as a bodyguard, so I will be happy to assist or consult or whatever. I've only got a rank 1, but I'm happy to do so.
Well, I got a double roll up, so I got a 36.
Oh, you're great.
And what
no,
was your other one?
my other point was, with a lot of this sort of thing, I always think of means, motive, opportunity, and reasonable doubt in the triangle here. And it sounds to me as though she certainly had motivation to kill the dude. Whether she did it or not is another question, but she had the motivation. There's plenty of evidence around that part of the process. In terms of means, it seems to me that because she had access to the arsenic, it's a matter of a timeline, so that if we can show when things happened versus when she acquired the means to potentially add to things, and then compare that, there's a potential for creating a crack of reasonable doubt into the judicial process. And in terms of opportunity, that timeline will also be key to figuring out when, based on the medical analysis, he must have had the time windows for the doses that push things over the top and what the surrounding circumstances were, again, in terms of creating reasonable doubt to allow her to voluntarily or be pressured into a convent instead of going to the gallows. But that's just
So
my thought process.
Timeline-wise, they've been very clear that the first bout of illness that Louis had was before there's any proof that she bought arsenic. And that for the lawyer, it doesn't make sense that she would have bought arsenic under like a false name someplace else and then start using her own name in the local one. So he truly believes that she didn't buy arsenic until after the first bout.
Yeah, well, that can be laid out for the jury as a
Well,
avenue for
no, I mean,
reasonable
he's
doubt.
going to do that, but he does not believe that that alone is going to.
Yeah, we'll have to create more cracks.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just talking as a player here, not in character, but the wheels turning in my head suggest that we're going to be looking for clues that we can hook onto this timeline framework and lay things out in order to support those arguments in court. Do the other players have a different approach or take on this?
Something of that ilk, but also, if we can find an actual culprit, someone else who was poisoning her and using her as a scapegoat.
Cover. Yeah. I
Um,
mean, he sounds like a cad, and there may be other women that would testify as to, there's things there that we can maybe dig out. So we've got timeline is going to be key, and alternative villains is the key. Is there anything else that should be on the radar?
Has anyone else in the warehouse been getting sick like this?
Oh, great comment.
yes.
Not that the lawyer knows. Nigel. So the two big ones at the time that were easily confused were, because the nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, were cholera and pneumonia, which is most likely they thought what he had before he actually died and they did the autopsy. But because of the arsenic found in his body at the autopsy, whether the other bouts were pneumonia, cholera, could be, but he definitely died with enough arsenic to kill someone, possibly two someones.
My.
Is there anything like, I don't know the chemistry here. I'm just thinking this through, which is as I understand it, most of the arsenic was combined with other materials throughout this period of history. So complexion arsenic was combined with certain things to make the powders and the potions that they used at that time. However, the rat poisons were combined with, anticoagulants and other types of binders. Could those be tested for chemically in the body to determine if it's a match for the kinds of poisons, the final dose that finished off the fella, if he has the
So
chemical signature of those?
that is some good questions to talk to the examining autopsy doctor.
The coroner. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. And again, I apologize for talking out of character. I'm just kind of puzzling this. You know what I mean?
I will also say with that wonderfully high roll, Nigel, a lot of your heavy metal poisonings cause the same type of things too. Arsenic poisoning actually was a leading cause of cancers too, just so you know. Major cancer problems with that.
Well,
But
yeah.
with the autopsy saying as much arsenic was in his system, whether he had anything else or not, he definitely was killed by arsenic.
Yeah, but the arsenic could have been a cover-up
It could.
for the underlying symptoms. So there's a lot of other things that could be looked for, which
And cancer, other heavy metal poisonings, because heavy metal poisonings kind of look about the same. The cholera, pneumonia. Let's see if I can come up with.
But I mean, a coroner is just, they're not going to be paid all that well. So as soon as he finds some cause of death, he's going to go, oh, okay, arsenic, there you go, and just rule that out. He's not going to be investigating into it further. So we could do.
I will say yes. Finding that much arsenic in the system, he said it's arsenic and he was poisoned.
Yeah,
That is as far as that went.
Coroner's not going to go digging deeper to look for other potential causes. So if we can get
That's
a
true.
hold of the results, even potentially if the body's still there, to run further tests, that could be useful.
I was going to say we need if the money is there to do a full forensic write-up, let's see what other fingerprints of chemistry and clues are on that body, to see if he had the lung inflammation of pneumonia. If there are lots of things that they can do with something more sophisticated than your small town coroner detecting arsenic with a chemistry kit.
Unfortunately, you have the reports in the coroner. You do not have the body. It's been cremated.
That is unfortunate.
How quickly was it cremated, and who ordered that?
So, timeline-wise, he would have died by the time that it was labeled a, killing would have been 3-4 days later. By the time this has gotten to she's been accused and they've had to bring in a lawyer and all that, it's easily been a month since the guy died. So he basically was cremated as part of a pauper's death because nobody claimed the body. I know you're all shocked, but there is no French aristocratic family that came over here and claimed the body. Didn't happen.
Not even for that. Just
Terrifyingly shocking.
if the body's part of a murder trial, it should be preserved for evidence.
Not a month later.
Yeah.
And the trial's not going to be for another couple months, so no. Plus, how are they preserving it for that long? I mean, you could try to keep it on ice, but that's
they have freezing technology.
They did not. I'll just be honest with you.
No, they have refrigeration technology.
I know they have refrigerate, but they didn't usually store bodies for months. You have a coroner's report and you talk to a coroner. Even in modern society, they don't. Once it's determined, like you're lucky if they don't cremate it, if they just bury it, because then you can dig up a body. And there have been cases that they do indeed dig up bodies. But if nobody claims it, they're dumped into, pits.
Well, it's possible they may still have samples retained.
That is a possibility.
Yeah. And this is another avenue for reasonable doubt.
And it is a possibility, yes. But I will just be honest with you, there is no body. There is a coroner, there's a coroner's report.
But I mean, because really, we just need to be able to poke enough holes so that they can formulate a defense.
That is what he's looking for.
We don't even necessarily have to prove definitively one way or the other. We just need enough holes. So that's one to point a hole at.
Holes, and if you can find out that provably that he was not a nice person, that doesn't hurt. Because again, unfortunately, with the time period and things like it is, jury pool selection, if everyone believes that she's a harlot and innately evil, because keep in mind, it's unfortunate, but she's the problem child in this, not him.
Yep.
And the court of public opinion has already ruled her scarlet letter. So poking holes in it, finding probable, like, hey, there's other possibilities, things like that, really needed, but also proving that he's not some victim, also really useful.
Yep. Or not her victim anyway. So.
Right. Or at least, in the relationship. And quite frankly, not that the lawyer will come out and actually say it, but the lawyer disapproves and the family disapproves simply on top of nobody believed other than Amelia, who still seems to believe that he was what he said, right? The rest of them do not believe that he was down on his luck French aristocracy. They also seem to think that it was targeted, that this guy was looking for young, naive women of wealth because he's 10-12 years her senior. Like they feel like he knew what he was doing, whereas they feel like she does not. How true that is, but that is the lawyer family stance on it.
All right, so what I'm going to just pull this together in my own mind, and I apologize for the sifting here that's going on in my head, but it sounds like we need to put together a profile of the gentleman who died with an emphasis on character flaws that might be highlighted for the defense, and that'll involve some field work and digging to gather that information from witnesses and from forensic financial accounts and all of that nonsense. But we can put that together. The second thing is to put together a timeline that casts reasonable doubt on how this might have unfolded and going after the opportunity angle of means, motive, and opportunity. And the third line of attack is by finding out from samples and medical examiner details that would place a question on the use of the form of arsenic that the lady had access to as being responsible for his ultimate demise. Is there anything else in people's notes from this conversation?
Was his picture released in the paper?
Oh, I'm sure. So was hers, much to the family's chagrin.
I also have, if the magicians in the party were willing, maybe Morgana, if you're willing to do this, can you take your compact out and ask the mice if she is tasty?
I'm not entirely sure she won't. If she's feeling guilt, she is probably. I don't think they'll give us a good test on that one.
Very well. The thought occurred to me.
Her own feelings on this are complicated.
Well, speaking of magic, I suppose we don't really have enough information right now to rule out that there were no magical forces involved at all. I'll look into it.
And then, sorry, I couldn't read my all full notes here. The other point was to check for environmental exposures in the warehouse.
Yeah.
Or in his home.
It was used in wallpaper.
Well, if we don't really,
So does
really the warehouse would depend on anyone else is showing symptoms. Because if no one else is symptomatic, then that's really not going to get us a lot.
well, it depends on
Yeah,
where he
I
worked.
will
If he was
say-
handling wallpapers and lots of a lot of that is based
In
on
his home is an
proximity.
entirely other factor. That's totally fine. But the warehouse, if nobody else is symptomatic there,
If
then
nobody else is getting sick, I think that Nigel has a point that probably not exposure at the warehouse. However, the warehouse
even if
could
we
still
could
give
find
you-
something, we're not going to be able to prove it in court, at least as far as the jury's concerned. Because why isn't anybody else getting sick?
but
yeah,
it could
but-
lead you to finding some friends or some news about him or some history.
Right.
Yes.
I'm just saying, looking for
But yes,
exposure at the
unless other
warehouse,
people
that's
are
probably
sick
not going to
there.
get as much. But
Unless there's a bunch
social
of other
angles,
sick
yeah,
people.
absolutely.
It rules
So-
out a place, or it rules in a place. Because if we can prove that,
Doesn't
hey, he got exposed at, and there's several other people that are getting sick. Plus side, if several people are getting sick and it's related to this arsenic, the Carters would probably be stand-up people and do something to protect their workers. Get them gloves and masks and some.
Yeah. Taking another angle on this thing, what about the lady's spiritual counsel and her soul? Acts of contrition, as well as the public perception management that goes with that. At a minimum, she's distressed from the scandal of it all and her family, and she deserves comfort on that basis.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that's for us, really.
Yeah.
Not really our job.
It's I think our best plan is to investigate and find out as much as we can and work out if we can work out what actually happened.
So coroner first, or warehouse first, or the pubs the gentleman frequented first, or his lodgings. I think those are the 4 points that have been mentioned so far. Does anyone
I
have others?
believe we should go and talk to the coroner first.
Sounds good to me.
That's because bear in mind we're also on a Sunday, so we're not gonna get a whole lot. Well, actually, investigating the warehouse might be useful to do on a Sunday if they're not working, or at least to have a reduced labor force.
I was gonna say, no, they have to work Sundays too. There may not be as many, and there's not as much upper management, but
It may be worthwhile to make a swing by there.
Does Mr. Logan have the lot address of the lodgings of the coroner who signed the reports?
not his home lodgings, no.
Well, we shouldn't need to go to his home lodgings. We should just need to go to the coroner's office.
Which isn't
Are
open
they
on Sunday. But yes, I
okay?
mean, he can give you the home office, but they're not open.
Do
That's
you
somebody who doesn't have to be at work.
do you
Unless
suspect
there's
him in a
emergency.
way that you want to investigate while he's not there at the office? Do you want to break in?
Um,
I don't say that
the
aloud, but
lawyer. Oh, I was gonna say
I'm
if the lawyer does not suspect the coroner of like taking bribes or being not above board, right?
okay.
Perhaps lazy, maybe, but not necessarily even that. Like he had never had any major problems with the guy's work, and from what
Right.
he
No.
saw of the report, right, that looked like arsenic poisoning. It's a
Right.
lot
Now
of arsenic.
the suspicion is not that he's been paid off, just that there may be something else that we can poke into to find that he may have just been inattentive or not spotted.
I
Because
think
The,
we
the
should just
lawyer will
go.
say things like he doesn't recommend anyone break the law.
Yeah,
However,
let's just go and talk to the guy first, eh?
well, really, we don't need to speak to the coroner. We need to see the samples.
Right, but to do that, we need to speak to the coroner.
Yeah.
Well, we would need to go to the office where the samples are stored.
And then he would need to give us access to them. So,
Well, someone would need to give us access to them. Even though they're not like open, there's probably somebody there for emergencies when they need to pull records or something.
Why must
Could
you be
the
so clandestine? Let's just go and talk to the guy.
well, I don't know that he's at work right now, but
But
could
my
the
my
lawyer write a
point
letter?
my point that I'm trying to make is there's probably somebody at the office to pull records that can get access to stuff that is just there for pulling like police reports. They're
and
probably
you're
going to
not
be a lot
necessarily
easier to
wrong.
talk to. What I'm to say, they're probably going to be a lot easier to talk to and get past than the coroner.
I will
So
say that whereas you are not necessarily wrong, either are they. That might just be something that's better for Monday, whereas the warehouse
yeah.
and the pub or his home might be better for Sunday.
that's why I'm trying to make the point that talking to the person who's there on Sunday is probably going to be better because we'll have a better chance of getting past them.
There may well not be there somebody on Sunday, unfortunately, because it's Sunday.
That's what I'm saying. There should be somebody there to pull records if the police or whatever needs to, just like a single staff person there to pull stuff if they need it in the case of an emergency.
I suggest that's probably a bit modern in policing.
It is a bit more modern. Understand that this is a time period where they were just really putting in places for autopsies. They're very rudimentary still at this point. And typically what happens is there's a bad thing, then they go and they get that guy and they bring the guy to the body, wherever the body is going to be. Which I think in London, I think we looked into it, it wasn't all that long ago in London. And it's usually basically a shed. which is part of why they don't keep the bodies. Because whereas refrigeration was a thing, they weren't using it on dead bodies. For the most part.
Since the people in this town won't know us from other folks, is there a letter of introduction or something the lawyer could write, or that would indicate that we're looking into things on behalf of the family, where the family name would carry weight and might open doors for us?
He can absolutely write something like that. You guys also would have credentials through the your investigative firm.
That sounds good. And is there a police constable who's in charge of the investigation? Do we know his name?
There's a inspector who was in charge of it. At this point, they've considered it a closed case. Keep that in mind. I mean, they again, the police, much like the populace, has basically already decided that she's guilty. But yes, he can absolutely give you the inspector probably. Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Is inspector a good term for it?
Yes. It would be detective inspector.
Detective inspector. See?
Okay, where do you guys want to go?
I think we could divide forces. Some of us could go start digging through local society, as it were, and some of us could go to the warehouse.
Okay. I'm happy with that.
Exactly. Yes, divide our forces. More damage that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yes.
Nothing ever goes wrong splitting the party.
It's true.
All right. I will, however, say that we are about halfway through and I have to take the doggos out. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Doesn't usually take me that long.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Bio break. We'll be right back.
Right. 5 minutes is not enough time for dinner, so I will just stare at a sandwich.
Could eat half of it.
I could think about eating half of
All
it.
right. Now it's 10 minutes. You have plenty of time. Eat your sandwich. Shush it.
No.
Ooh.
Are folks back?
I mean, I'm
I
still
am.
here.
I'm here. I'm just eating a sandwich.
What kind of sandwich do you have?
Egg and bacon.
Oh, that's yummy.
He also visited Sandwich with me when he came over here.
All right.
True. And I ate a sandwich in sandwich.
You did.
One of my favorite things is I make a lot of homemade baking, and I'll make a crusty French bread loaf and then fill that with all kinds of different stuff. But the hot bread out of the oven with butter getting all melty and drippy in there, and then some great cheese or different meats and some veg. Oh, so good.
I have to say, I surprisingly enjoyed the Chicago style hot dog when I was over in Chicago.
It was
I'm
very
not
good.
usually one for vegetables, but that was good.
There are a lot of them on a Chicago dog.
That is why the phrase for Chicago dogs is "drag it through the garden."
Yes.
If I'm particularly nice, I will make a homemade egg bread that has a cinnamon sugar roll
Yum.
and then turn that into bread pudding.
Yum.
Which is apparently the absolute best way to make bread pudding is if I go out of my way and make the bread from scratch.
Yeah, that's pretty
Not
yummy.
that my children were ever spoiled or my, I actually have a friend who the friend I mentioned who's going through the home life change, right? So he's living on his own now. And apparently he doesn't really actually know much about cooking. Never really done it. Never, right? So I told him that the next few times he comes over, I'll teach him how to do some crock pot stuff and some casserole freezer rotation things. We'll get him on the straight and narrow. I'll make a cook out of him yet. But homemade bread sounds really good.
I love it. I make a lot of homemade yeast rolls with Sunday supper. There's nothing like those with butter and jam.
There really isn't. But butter and honey.
That's good too. Although I do butter honey with a biscuit, an American biscuit, the fluffy ones.
I do too, but I also like it on a roll or a
Fair.
cinnamon butter.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm going for the complete savory, feel like I'm having mashed potatoes and gravy and all that, and then just butter.
If you had bananas, they go bad, so you make banana bread. The banana bread goes stale, and then you make that into banana bread pudding.
You can also use cake
no, but the point is,
donuts.
the food will have gone bad twice, and you'll have made it into something new 3 times.
It's not quite bad, just close to.
Isn't cooking
banana
wonderful?
bread is
Just
something
no longer fresh. The food will have not been fresh twice, and you'll have transformed it each time.
I would say that my banana bread is passable. I have, however, had like 4 people in the last couple weeks be like, "When are you making banana bread? It's almost fall. Maybe you could start making banana bread." I'm like, well, apparently I need to make banana bread.
What are you doing?
Almost as if somebody likes it. But I'm like, you can't just make banana bread on the drop of a hat because I got to get the bananas, and the bananas have to ripen enough. They have to age.
Yep.
They have to become almost bad.
One of my favorite things to do with a fresher banana, not a banana bread banana, is I'll make the bread dough up. I'll roll it in butter, cinnamon, and sugar, put it in a little dish, and then between each of those little blobs of cinnamon and sugar and butter covered dough, I put shavings of banana, like a thinly cut banana. And then you bake it all up and you get this wonderful toffee, cinnamon, monkey bread stuff. It's quite yummy.
All
Cooking
right.
with Dean.
Have you guys ever made a beer bread? Know what a beer bread is? It's a quick
Mm.
bread. So instead of using beer, get yourself a good apple cider. And then take your food processor and take a
wait.
Honeycrisp and run
Beer
it through there.
bread. Right. I thought you said bear bread.
No, sorry. And then run your apple crisp through so that you've got that just like minced almost apple. Put that in there. Absolutely divine fall bread.
Mm.
And it's a quick bread so that you can do it as long as you have the cider in the house and an apple. I like a Honeycrisp, but you can technically use other types of apple.
Mm.
But yeah, you can have that baked up in an hour and 15 minutes, start to go. So it's a nice quick bread in case like you have company drop in type of thing. All right. How's that sandwich? Are we done?
It was great, thanks, and yes.
Awesome. I went in and I put some names in and I highlighted some other names so that we can hopefully not lose them. So of course, Mr. Logan is our attorney. Louis de Valois is the murdered person. Amelia Carter is the accused young lady, Carter family. Let's see. The detective inspector is Linus Livington. The coroner's name is Timothy McAbra. The landlady is Mary Ellen McFarlane. The friend who found him, who called the doctor who he'd been seeing, is Nancy Tott. And the doctor who had seen him and had earlier with the stomach flu, cholera, pneumonia, whatever the heck that they had labeled it, was Isla Talak. How am I doing on those Scottish names there, Chris?
Sure. That'll work.
It's that bad. I'm sorry. I told you this is why I'm not pretending to have a Scottish accent.
I mean, you can
Gaelic
try.
is almost as bad as French. I'm just saying. I love Gaelic. I like it much more than French, but it is
Like
very
seriously,
confusing.
I'm just here waiting. I'm waiting for you to do it.
No, because it's awful. It's okay. Look. You and I both know that you can look at a Gaelic name and be like, I think it's pronounced da da da, and that's completely wrong. Like half those letters don't make sense. Again,
Like when I was in America with American accents, I gave it a shot. I was terrible, but I gave it a shot.
at an American accent.
I did.
Whenever Chris tries to do an American accent, he always ends up going Boston.
Boston.
Oh no. You gotta do like a bit like Milwaukee, where it's almost Canadian. Like up north central, where it's almost Canadian. That's even better. Because you can
See,
boot things.
see,
You can
see
talk about things.
the difference between going Canadian and going Boston is Canadians always add A to the end of every sentence. Boston people just transform every vowel into A.
Well, Boston's actually more nasally than Canadian, which is strange because you wouldn't think about it, but it actually it is. It's
It
more,
is.
the East Coast has a more nasally feel to it. Yeah,
Yep. Boston definitely has a nasally sound to it.
it does. Yeah. Not that that's bad per se.
And according
But
to my
no,
dad
I'm
from
not
his
doing a
dealings
Scottish
with
accent. I can barely pronounce the names in Scottish.
You can do it. I believe in you.
according to my dad and his dealings with Greek people that he had around Chicago, to do the Greek accent, your Greek English accent, you just have to add "goddammit" to the end of every sentence.
True.
All right, so Chris, Isla. I want to pronounce it Isla, but I don't think that that's right.
Isla.
Isla. See, the S doesn't even, it's not there.
No, I've got several Islas in my classes.
See. But as a stupid American, I see that and I go, I-S is, L-A is Isla. Isla. So Isla.
Yeah, you
Tla.
know, like the word Isle with an E at the end, except it's Isla because it's Gunny.
Because it's
Or,
girl
you
side.
know, like island without the ND.
Yep.
Yep. So Isla. Tulak? Tulak is correct? No.
Tulk?
T-U-L-A-C-H.
T-U-L-A-C-H.
Uh-huh.
Tulach.
Yeah.
Tulach.
Bit more phlegm.
McFarlane.
No.
I know McFarlane.
Back of the throat.
Even though she's using the PH instead of the F.
McFarlane.
McFarlane. And Macabra. Those two I think I got.
Yep, Macabra.
And
Oh,
Tot.
I would have thought that was macabre, but that's just me. And I'm not Scottish.
Macabra, McFarlane, Macabra.
See, I thought it was
Potato,
Macabra.
potato.
Yeah. All right. So where, what, who, how, why?
Andy, I didn't get that list of names in the Discord chat. Did you put it somewhere
It's
else?
not in the Discord
It's-
chat. It's in the
Sorry.
the shared document. If you look in Discord up on the threads, or I'm sorry, up on the pins, you'll see the link to our Google Docs.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much.
But I can also move it over here, or at least part of it.
As long as I get it, we're good. Thank you.
I'm gonna
You're
say,
an anonymous
macabre.
moose.
And not a moose.
And yeah, indeed. I think Joel's an anonymous rhino.
That figures.
Up at the top.
Lady Titania's an anonymous axolotl, or however you're supposed to pronounce that. I'm not sure who an anonymous gopher is. I would assume Chris or Brad.
I'm not seeing axolotl, so I think I might be the axolotl and someone else is the rhino.
I have
Well, what
absolutely
am I?
no idea what you're talking about.
In the
In
Google
the Google
Docs.
Docs.
Hold on. When you go
The
to
Google
Google Docs, up at the top, it gives each of you like an animal, and you're all anonymous so-and-so's while you're writing. So whoever's writing right now is the axolotl.
That's me.
Yeah, Joel's the
Alright.
axolotl.
So what am I?
Sweet.
You're
Hold on.
You're
Andy,
just
because
you're
you,
just
own
you.
you own the document.
Oh, so I have an actual name.
Yeah.
The rest of you are animals.
Right,
Yes.
well, I have no idea what animal I am because I'm not on the Google Docs right now.
Right now, hold on, one person at a time. So wait, Chris, right?
Well, hang on, I was right in there.
He's not in it.
I need to actually get on the Google Doc first.
Well, then you're not
What is,
it. All right,
what is
try
the link
Brad.
for that?
Brad.
I was trying. It's not taking.
Oh, hold on.
Are you spacing or because you look like gopher if you're trying to type something?
I mean, what is the
Putting it in.
I think there's too many of us trying to type at once.
What is the link for the Google Docs, anyways?
I just put it up there.
Just in the chat.
I just reposted it.
It's in
Ah, right,
Discord.
right.
Up at the top, there's the pins.
Yeah, I see it.
But I
I
just
see
put it right back in there so you don't have to look for it.
You're an anonymous goose.
You're a goose.
So much is clear. You're a Canada goose.
I
No.
A
He's not
bootsack.
a monster. He's just Scottish.
A
No,
bootsack.
no. Canada
That's
geese are
gnomes.
responsible for everything wrong, and they're French Canadian. It's so much is clear.
Rude.
Right, so if I type something,
Those geese are mean. Those geese are mean.
I'll just
Very
type my
mean.
name here. Right, what am I? Oh, I'm anonymous.
Goose.
A goose.
You're an anonymous goose.
Well, it was a lovely day in the village.
Geese
and
was
I was
never
a
an
terrible
option.
goose.
There's a goose loose about this house. No.
What am I?
You're the coyote.
Coyote.
Oh, a coyote. Cool. Because of course I don't come up as an anonymous something or other.
Yeah. You don't see yourself. It's very disappointing.
No,
So
right.
I must be the
River's
gopher.
the rhino.
Yeah.
That's cool, River.
Yeah.
You could kill everybody else. Rhinos are dangerous.
Only because they have bad eyesight. If we could give them LASIK, they would be a whole lot less dangerous.
They're
Glasses. They've got
I don't
plenty of
know
nose
that for
talent
sure,
on.
but I believe it. Well,
What?
okay, like I know what like dogs, if they start to get elderly and they get glaucoma, they can come off as aggressive, but really what it is that they got spooked because they don't see clearly. So I can believe that with rhinos.
They're just fat unicorns.
There's just fat unicorns. Yeah, no, see if they were fat unicorns, they'd be fat happy unicorns. And apparently they're mean and aggressive. So
Yep.
Yeah,
Have you
After
seen
race
a
six, maybe
unicorn
they can
before
be
the
fat.
scourge?
Yeah,
yeah.
they're post scourge unicorns.
No,
And
no, it has done the unicorns were nasty before the scourge, and the scourge was too horrible. They all turned into
No,
pacifists.
see, but this is relevant. We brought it back because the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland.
It is the
Yep.
national animal of Scotland. See, England have their lion and all that. We've got an awesome unicorn.
And the
No,
Oh
Welsh
my
totally.
dragon.
Wheels have got a
And then
dragon.
while you guys are in Scotland, there will be a herd of loose unicorns that you have to somehow get out of town.
I've already
Yeah,
got plans
and
for.
whe-
I've already
I
got
think
plans
we
for that
could
when
do
we get to the
bars.
expanded British Isles book.
what now, England?
I'm just pondering loose unicorns, but yeah, that may just be my mind being filthy. But
So I need an answer to this one. I have a 5-year-old girl who needs to know if unicorns really fart glitter. Scottish guy on the spot, go.
Yes.
I'm gonna say no. They're a lot more like horses, but you know, it is a nice
No.
thought.
He's wrong. They totally fart glitter. I have had 2 little girls. So yes, they do.
I would say it depends on the breed of the unicorn.
That is also true.
oh,
The breed that's around little girls farts glitters.
Not rainbows?
Nope, glitters.
No,
Well,
they come from the horn.
that's where you get the
Rainbows come
difference
from
in the
the horn.
breeding.
Thank you, Michelle. Rainbows come from the horn. Glitter comes from the tush. There you go.
Oh boy.
Also relevant for Scotland, the national flower is the thistle.
It is.
Yeah, we have a lot of those in the garden from Gran.
As John Oliver put it, and I'll do the best to mimic his Scottish accent, was, the only flower I like is one that can pierce an Englishman's throat.
I mean, I don't think thistles are gonna be piercing anybody, but they give you a nasty nip.
They can be pretty nasty. And I think they're poisonous.
Not poisonous. Just yeah.
Don't eat them. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure that
misunderstood.
I think it depends on what part you eat, though. But I do not believe they are healthy for you to eat.
I can believe that.
Sonny, what? Are you trying to talk
Dandelions
into the
eat
microphone,
together.
Sonny? Oh, jeez, dog. What are you doing?
See, that should be
Sonny also
somebody's
wants to have
freaking
his
national
say.
flower. Is dandelions because
To
they're
be
useful
fair,
the whole
to
thing.
be fair, Sonny is a golden retriever, and golden retrievers are bred from Scotland.
Now that's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Are you Scottish? Are you Scottish, Sonny?
He says he'll
He's
be
just-
Scottish if you give him a bunny.
No, he's
He'll be
just trying to
whatever
come
you
give me a
want if
hug.
you give him a bunny.
He's just trying to come give me hugs. What are you doing, buddy?
All
Oh
right,
boy.
back to on task ish.
Yep.
Ish.
As much as we can stay on task.
It's a gaming table. What do you want? However, what are you
It's a
guys going to
gaming
do?
table
And
run
are you
by
actually
Andy.
splitting up? Hey, I have my own squirrels. Your squirrels are your problem. Now,
So
darling squirrels, whom I love and adore, are we splitting up? Are we staying together? And where are we going?
Actually, it's fairly early in the day, so the pub is unlikely to be open yet. Everyone will be at church.
Have
it
you
is Scotland.
been
The
to
pubs are
Scotland?
open.
It's a fair point, but I was avoiding, as an Englishman, I avoid stereotyping Scottishmen, particularly when I know them and don't want them to murder me. Thank you, Chris. Please don't.
Listen, that is not a stereotype. That is a fact.
Exactly.
Hey, if he does kill you, he'll kill you with a thistle, apparently. So you should be happy.
Apparently.
I've met thistles before. I'm not sure that makes me happy.
Oh, wow.
So again, not to pull things back to a list, but we've got the detective inspector to talk to, the coroner to talk to, who we've decided we have to do tomorrow. We have the landlady, Ellen McFarlane. And then we have this friend,
Farland.
Nancy, and this doctor who's probably not in his office on a Sunday. So do you want, and then we also have the warehouse, which people talked about going when it was empty or less empty or more empty on the weekday. Did you want to talk to the landlady? She's probably at the property. The inspector may or may not be at the police precinct, or the friend might be at the pub, Nancy.
Oh yeah. By the way, just a little note here. I didn't see how Timothy Macabra's name was spelled. It is Macabra.
He's
a
not on the
great-
list.
Macabre.
Oh no, Macabra. Oh, I get it.
Macabre, which is a great, because it sounds like macabre. It's a great name for a coroner. I love it. That's nominative
Yeah, it is.
determinism right there.
Very good. Very good. Well done, Andy.
There are some who call me Tim.
Him.
Hey, Tim.
Ooh, is he a sorcerer? No.
No,
He
no,
will
an
be now if you
enchanter.
keep it up.
He's an enchanter. Although really, he's more of an arsonist.
Ba-dum-bum.
You can be both.
When the
True,
only
I
spell you know is fireball, everything starts to look like a fireball problem.
I sounded a little too defensive about that, didn't I?
If you can't kill it with fire, you're not using enough fire.
That's your same argument for firepower.
Yep.
Yeah.
If
not a
it's
wrong
not dying
argument.
to lead, you're not using enough.
I will say she's not technically wrong. So where are we going?
I think probably mostly the warehouse, because picking up gossip will probably work better late in the day.
All right. Off to the warehouse, which is right off the docks. Easy enough to find. With the letter of introduction from the lawyer and seeing how it belongs to the Carter family, you have their full cooperation. Look at, touch, see, talk to whoever you guys like. Well, it's how about this? I'll give you a little bit more about the warehouse. It's a warehousey looking warehouse with lots and lots of giant crates that they lift with pulley systems and store. It's
I take it they're
fairly
housing
busy,
lots of
but
wares.
housing lots of wares.
Everyone can bring
Things seem to
silver.
be coming off of boats all the time.
Look for the
Housing-
foreman.
Housing lots of wares.
Yes, there is a foreman. We will just give him the name Simon. Simon the foreman.
Pass him the letter of introduction with the Carter family name on it. And then I will begin to walk about looking for hidden assassins before they shoot everybody.
I presume we can all just have a good look around for anything strange. What is
Anything
strange in a warehouse?
And a cursory look, there does not seem to be much strange going on. For lack of better words, it seems to be a fairly typical warehouse, doing warehousey things. Simon says, go where you want, do what you want. If you have questions, feel free to ask.
Where
And
did
pretty
the
much goes
fellow
back to work.
where did the fellow who died work?
That's a good question.
Basically, he was a box mover. He basically helped take things off of the trucks and get them put where they belong. It's a little sad He'll say something about the fact that he never moved up. He's been here like 6, 7 years and he'd never moved up. Mostly because he wasn't really good for much.
Not a hard worker, or
Not in the least. Lazy
so
bum. Does just enough I can't fire him or shouldn't fire him, but never enough to actually be good at anything.
Was he
When
ill
things get
frequently?
slow. When things, sorry?
Was he ill frequently?
No. I mean, unless you count being, a little too into his cups. He always managed to get talked out. Upper management, when I try to get rid of him, he'd always talk upper management into keeping him. Hell, I tried cutting his hours and somehow management let him sweep the floors to keep his hours. Ridiculousness.
Which manager was doing that?
He'll list some guy who, he's here today even. You can go and talk to him. But Simon doesn't have a huge amount of respect for that particular manager. He thinks that particular manager isn't bright.
Well, it sounds like he had the fellow who died had backing from above. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering how he managed to talk management out of firing him if he was so bad at his job.
And he was sleeping with the daughter. He was romancing
No,
the
but the family didn't know. The family didn't know that they were sleeping together. They found out that they were seeing each other, and the family thought they put an end to that, and then they went clandestine.
But he still kept his job, which would have been an obvious way to get him away.
Unless he had blackmail material and was blackmailing the family to keep his job.
Or unless the family simply thought by telling her stop seeing that guy that she said she stopped seeing that was good enough. And didn't think much more of a lowly dock worker.
Mm.
But you can speak to that manager if you want.
Yeah, let's go to the manager.
Yep.
Unless
To the manager.
anyone has other opinions.
So the manager is kind of a heavy, dowdy looking middle manager, balding, middle-aged man. Oh, yeah, yes. I heard that we had guests. Come in. Can I get you anything? Spot of tea.
He'd be great, thank you.
This is definitely not fancy like the lawyer's office. The cups are mismatched, but it's tea. He's got sugar, cream if you like it. He can make coffee, but his coffee's not great.
Well, not everybody's perfect.
How can I help?
So,
Do you need me to show you around?
I think on that front we're okay. We're mostly wanting to know about Louis de Valois.
So sad what happened to poor Louis.
You were a friend
Who
of
would have
his?
thought that Miss Carter was, that type of lady?
well, what did happen to Louis? I mean, what do you think
Well, Miss
happened?
Carter poisoned him.
Oh,
Everybody knows that. It's all over the papers.
that's what the papers say. What it was, you said he was a bit reticent to work. Would I be right in saying that?
Or the foreman said
Louis
that. We're
was
talking
a
the
good
manager.
guy. Louis was a great guy. I mean, he had some life problems, but he was a good man. Yeah.
Huh. Well, that's very different to what we've heard around the shop.
Simon's old and been here forever and thinks he could do my job.
Okay.
And he kind of poshes at the idea that Simon knows much. Simon just doesn't know how to work with people.
Is he?
Andy, while he's talking, I'm gonna drop an astral sight to see if there's any sort of magical compulsion for where he's saying. I got a 12.
Good plan. I'll keep him talking.
You keep him talking, there does not seem to be any magical influence going on. Look. Simon had some problems and he was working through it. And quite frankly, between us, he wasn't even interested in Miss Carter the way she was interested in him. It's almost scary the way that young woman was, obviously.
Oh, now that is interesting. Are you sure about that?
Well, and he turns kind of a color, and I am, but it wouldn't be proper for me to say anything.
Okay. Well, no one's asking you to say anything in particular. It's just you're kind of you're making some intimations here, and obviously we'd like to sort of get to the bottom of things.
I don't know why. I mean, obviously Miss Carter did this.
What makes you so certain it was her?
Well, I mean,
aside from that being what the papers say, of course.
He wasn't really into ladies.
Aha. I see.
And that blush gets a little harder.
Is that how he kept
we know
his job?
how he kept his job.
Oh boy.
I mean, I have just I obviously know very little about his personal life, but it was very clear to me that he was would not have been interested in that young girl prancing about after him. And the things she wrote in those letters. Tisk.
Letters, hey.
Yeah, you guys have heard about the infamous letters. She burned hers because she couldn't get caught with them. She wanted them back from him, the ones she wrote him, and he threatened to go to her parents and out her liaisons with those letters. Now, the fact that the public knows about them, you haven't read all the things, but it seems in poor taste that the newspapers are printing things about the letters. However, in this time period, if it got leaked, well, hell, in this time period that we currently live in, if it gets leaked, whether it's fully true or not or vetted, it seems to make the news. So,
Yeah.
Well, yes, because the news is well known for its scruples.
exactly.
When was the last time you had met with Louis?
Well, I mean, I saw him every day he came to work.
Uh-huh.
Which was the last day
I
before the
believe,
incident?
Well, I mean, the day before, I believe. He
And
was here at work. He seemed fine.
It wasn't showing any symptoms of being unwell.
No, I mean, he'd seemed paler the last few weeks. And I know that he had missed a few days from being ill in the last few weeks. But him and I talked, and his job was secure.
Right.
So it's odd then that he seemed paler over time. if his cause of death was poisoning.
Well, I mean, I thought he looked paler, and he'd missed, I mean, a few days, and the news says he'd been poisoned multiple times in that time period. So I think it makes perfect sense that he was pale over the time.
Multiple times, huh?
Well,
And you guys knew that there had been several incidences of the flu thing, but he had had one major one before she bought arsenic the first time. And there was like 3 and or 4 episodes. I don't know if that was made clear to you guys. So I think there were 4 episodes. One that happened before she bought arsenic. Then she bought the arsenic. Then there was the next one. Then she bought arsenic again, and then the last 2.
Wait, so there was one that happened before she bought the arsenic.
Yep, that was
Yeah.
that was made very clear at the thing. That's part of the reason the lawyer doesn't think she's guilty. However, it could be that she supposedly got the arsenic somewhere else, but there's no proof of her buying the arsenic until after the first episode. And the
Right.
lawyer made a thing of saying that he didn't think that she would use a fake name someplace farther out to start trying to kill him and then use her own name nearby to finish it. That he didn't
Yeah.
think that made sense.
Sounds reasonable to me. Andy, just to bring you to your attention, empathic sense on the manager.
Sorry.
There's a couple of empathic sense rolls on the manager in the chat. So an 8 for August and a 25 for Morgana, because my D8s hate you today.
August, he's definitely a little flustered, but not in a guilty sense flustered. Morgana, let's just say he's crushing hardcore.
Yeah.
And a bit sad and a bit bitter towards who he perceives killed the object of his affection.
But it's a grief. So he feels he's coming across as grief stricken, in a reserved and
angry at her and trying not to betray the fact that he had feelings himself.
Yeah.
For Louis. He does use words like he'll say something like Louis was very charming. You know, he was very classy. Did you know he was a minor French aristocrat?
That is what he said.
That is what we'd heard, yes.
While we're in here talking to this guy, just kind of keeping an eye on him, I want to drop a physician roll, see if I notice any other symptoms or anything like that he may have encountered since he's been in close contact with the guy, let's say.
Absolutely. And
I got a 9.
9. You're not seeing anything. Matter of fact, from what little bit since you've been walking around the place a little, nobody else seems to be ill with the same type of symptomology that you would expect from arsenic poisoning.
Do I see enough where I could make him think he's sick?
You could totally do that without seeing anything. It's actually very easy to convince gullible people that they're sick. Usually you can do it if you're good, you can do it within about 3 sentences. This is actually a thing that I learned in psychology courses. You can make people sick by simply going, "Wow, are you okay today?" And then leave it alone, come back 20 minutes to an hour later. "Are you sure? You look a little ill." Usually by the time that you put the 3rd statement in there, they've convinced themselves they're sick. So not hard to do, by the way.
So while we're talking to him, I want to drop a little bit of are you feeling all right? You look a bit pale. Have you had any symptoms or anything? Have you been fatigued? Have you felt similar to how Louis described feeling at all? Prior to he got sick.
How did you know that he'd been tired lately? Oh my gosh, you don't think she's poisoning more people, do you? Is it in the tea? Like, He's like knocking the tea away, dumping it out,
No, it's
grabbing everybody else's cups.
No, I'm
Who-
thinking it's something else entirely.
it's
I will say, with that empathic sense and what you just witnessed, you believe that he might be on the more gullible, easily
Yeah.
led side.
well, no, I don't believe it's she doesn't have the means for such things. No, I wouldn't. Given how charming he was, I'm sure there were. Well, I'm sure that Miss Carter wasn't the only unwanted attention he got. Was there anyone you knew of in his friends away from work who was
Oh,
might have borne him any ill will? Jealousy can be such a terrible thing.
well, he did have a friend named Isla Tulak that apparently he saw fairly frequently. However, again, not his type. The landlady was constantly coming on to him, of course. Was rather atrocious about it, just blatantly throwing herself at him.
Seems like a lot of people are coming onto this person.
And he'll list, but other than that, he doesn't know any of his really outside of work friends.
And
He's personally, he's a family man and doesn't get to spend as much time at the pubs as he would like.
So
His wife doesn't really approve.
Just checking out of character, do we have this guy's address? Thomas's address, or not Thomas? Sorry, the Louis. We have Louis's address.
Yes, you know where the landlady is.
Right.
Just to check, Andy, you said Isla Tulak was the friend who was coming on to him. Just to make sure that is the friend who is also listed as the doctor.
Isla is the friend who got the doctor. So on the day that he died, Isla apparently was there, and Isla got the doctor.
Because it says doctor who saw diagnosed cholera pneumonia was Isla.
Oh,
on the
Isla's
document.
the doctor. I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong name. Nancy would have been the friend. Sorry, you're correct. I apologize.
That's okay. Because if it was the doctor being a friend, it's a whole lot more suspicious.
So Nancy, according to Alfred, the manager, Nancy was obviously coming on to him. However, the one he makes a big deal about is that the landlady was just blatantly nasty, just throwing herself. Yes.
Any male friends, associates, cronies? Did he gamble or anything?
Was there ever a cause for a knocker to go around and get him to come to work?
Well, no, if he didn't come to work, obviously he was too ill. And Alfred wouldn't dare wake him up and bother him while he was too ill. How else would he recuperate? He does have a couple of male friends on the floor. Strangely, it seems like some of his friends who worked here also didn't have a very good work ethic, and a lot of times they didn't last long. But none of them were his. He didn't seem flirtatious with any of them or anything like that. He's obviously above such riffraff.
Right. By the way, just a little as a side note, we were when I got back to the school this year. There was a little bit in service day where they talked about the kinds of jobs people had back in the 1800s, and some of them were incredibly amusing. Knocker was one of them.
Yep. Come get your lazy butt up.
Knocker upper. Yeah.
Yes, knocker upper.
Basically, the equivalent of you can't call in sick because you're too drunk to come to work. Get your ass up here.
Yes.
I thought, right? Yeah. I think it happened over here too. I don't remember what they call it, but basically it was a roundup of get your drunk butt up and go to work because we got to get things done.
There was also a railway sterilizer. I am.
Okay, that one I don't know.
I have no idea what that guy did.
What are they sterilizing? Because I'm not aware of this one. Everything. Brad, you should know this. Brad, what are they sterilizing?
I mean, other than just going around and sterilizing, like, rolling stock and that sort of thing.
Brad, were trains gross back in the day?
I mean, they're full of coal dust and grease, and yeah, there's a lot of gross stuff that goes on a train itself, or at least on a locomotive. On the like as far as the inside of the coaches and that sort of thing. Now they typically kept those fairly clean, at least if you were in the upper class carriages.
And who kept them clean? The railway sterilizers kept them,
Apparently.
clean.
There was a article I read about a young lady who was advised to wear black dresses on the riding on the trains in the American West because there was so much stuff that flew back and how gross they were and sloppy people were with all kinds of things. It was quite nasty. They were to have their set a black dress and a spare pair of boots to change from the floors.
Well, mostly that would be due to coal dust coming off of the exhaust, like the smoke and everything.
So, from what I am seeing,
Yes.
train doctors were railway sterilizers.
Rain doctors, eh?
Yeah.
So many questions and so many comments. I don't think I should ask.
There's another
So
another use of the word sterilizer.
So you will definitely have the idea that Alfred liked Louis in a way. Alfred is married. This is how Louis didn't lose his job, because Alfred seems to have made up for it. And as far as any time he made friends, that were guys, they were just apparently friends, because he even believes that Louis is some sort of minor aristocracy and wouldn't lower himself to, dalliances with dockhands.
Just to check with the friends, any of Louis' friends who got jobs here turning out to be work shy, is this because feel like with my because Alfred got rid of them, or just because all of Louis' friends were work shy like him? Not that Louis was work shy, allegedly.
I will tell you right now, Alfred will probably never give you a straight answer on that. If you want that answer, you should ask Simon.
I wasn't
Simon
more.
Would probably tell you.
Yeah, I was more seeing if I could get any feelings to, the honesty of his comment about them all being work shy, or was it just he had taken against them?
I will say that his answer comes off very middle management on that.
Reasonable.
So I don't know the times. I don't know the times that well. Is if the victim is if the jury is convinced that the victim was a confirmed bachelor, as they would say in those days, would that make it easier for Miss Amelia to say the whole thing was fabricated?
Maybe, but likely not if they believe, because they've got these supposed letters that she. And here's the thing. You guys haven't gotten to the letters or seen the letters, but allow me to just ruin a little bit here. The letters certainly imply that they had a carnal relationship. So either she's crazy and making that up, and therefore some sort of crazy stalker obsessive person, or he's not a, quote, confirmed bachelor.
Or if we get enough evidence, it could throw doubt on the legitimacy of the letters.
That's reasonable doubt is. Yeah. All right, so noted. Thank you for
However,
the
you do know
cultural
that there are
clarification.
letters because she has been very open about the fact that she wrote letters to him. She just
Correct, but
burnt the letters that he sent her.
correct, but it's not a matter of whether or not she actually sent them. It's a matter of what we convince the jury.
That is also true.
I'm just accumulating tools. Thank you.
Nope, that's fine.
Well, we also have the tool of this tool that we can call in and have him testify about how he wasn't interested in her, and you know.
Oh, I seriously doubt that he would be willing to testify.
And it would make jealousy. It might make jealousy on her part a greater motive.
For
Mhm.
killing,
There's
yes,
that.
but not for. But it will save her reputation of having had the dalliances.
I will say that getting that guy to testify to what he's telling you, not going to go easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's he's
Yeah,
not going
but
to
we have
out
a good lawyer.
himself.
Any other questions for Alfred? Do you want to go back and talk to Simon?
Yeah, I think checking with Simon what his opinion of Louis' friends was.
Yeah, Simon.
And who were Louis' friends?
Yes, names would be helpful.
So, if you ask
So,
him directly about friends, there's a John and a Paul that he knows he has drinks with after work sometimes. Simon doesn't usually drink with them because it's hard enough to keep that. I used to be on the same level, but now I'm the foreman. So he tries not to necessarily go out and drink with the guys too much because it muddies the water between work and friendship.
that makes sense.
But he does know that Paul and John used to go have drinks with Louis all the time. Do you ask if his other friends that don't work here anymore are bad employees? Or if Alfred just has it out for them?
Yep.
Well, Simon, being the straight shooter he is, goes one. Louis liked women. And he could be a charming bloke when he wanted to. And if you don't pay attention enough, you don't always catch on. But he's also the world's biggest something liar. The biggest bloody liar.
Something pithy and Scots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pithy, Scots, and unrepeatable.
Yeah. So
Yeah, something that we cannot
and as
repeat
far
on this
as
stream.
some of those friends, yeah, no, they were waste and bad employees. And some of those friends, yeah, it would make a lot of sense if Alfred got rid of them because Alfred thought they were spending too much time. It also makes sense that yeah, no, that's how Louis gets away with shit is Alfred likes Louis.
I
And
imagine.
Louis likes to use people.
I
In
imagine
Simon's
that.
opinion.
Yes. I imagine that Simon has referred to this man as, and I quote, an absolute bampot. Which is a little parlance for you there.
Yeah.
What?
Simon will even go as far as to say that Alfred is delusional because Louis had women come up here before. And somehow Alfred always has it that they're just throwing themselves at Louis. And not that Louis is encouraging any of this. But anybody who's paying half attention, Louis is encouraging this. His biggest question is how come so many people are so daft that they fall for it? Oh,
That's interesting. Did Louis ever do anything strange?
like what?
I don't know, like be able to do something that you don't think he should normally be able to do, or something like that.
No, he's too lazy to do anything that I didn't expect.
Right.
I mean, that meant he would have done something.
So he just lay about all the time, huh?
As close to it as he could get. If I didn't have eyes right on him, I swear he'd be holding up the walls, keeping the floor down. And now, Simon does not seem to think that he's all that charming. He just seems confused that other people found him charming.
Oh, one of those people.
It's
However,
slightly
that charm may have
strange.
been wasted on Simon.
Yeah.
Great shooter. Got it. Well, anyways, I think
Yeah.
for the moment, now that we've got the identities of his friends and possibly a location where they hang out, we should maybe go and talk to them and see what they
Yep.
say.
Well, one of them is there at the place right now. The other one didn't show up for work today. So.
Shocking.
Excellent. Let's go and talk to the gent.
May I ask a Scottish slang question?
Yes.
I don't know how pejorative any of these terms are because I'm just not familiar. But
Okay.
Isn't a gay guy a buffy, or is that mean something else?
I mean, way back in the day, maybe. That term doesn't get used very much anymore.
Okay, so
We
what's
are
like
way
a
back in
gay
the day
guy?
in the game.
So what is a gay guy and what's a gay for pay guy?
What? So what's a gay guy and what's a gay for pay guy? So are you talking about a rent boy, son?
Drew,
Is that what you're talking about?
if you make me choke from laughing, dude.
Well, it's coming up here, and I'm like, I don't know what the Scottish slang for that is. I know the
I
American
don't
slang.
either.
It's rent boy is what the Scottish slang for that is.
Oh boy, that's like 20 years ago in the U.S. Man. Okay, so you just call them rent boys over there. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the gay for pays, and then what's the modern word for the gays?
A modern word for gay people. Well, see, we live in a society now where everything has to be, politically correct. So these sort of terms have been phased out.
All right. Well, all right. Thank you. I was just wondering. Thank you.
I mean, so much so that yeah, obviously Buffy was the older term, but I haven't heard that in years.
But
Years.
is that really derogatory? I don't even know.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was.
It's like FAG
Or
in English,
or
American English.
obviously there's poofter, which was
Oh yeah,
before
poofter.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and that was English more.
which had like a rhyming slang, a Harry Hoofter.
Harry Hoofter. Okay.
Yeah, but
Right.
yeah. So I mean, there were lots of little terms like that, but these terms they've been phased out a lot, and rightfully so.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for a little corner of Scottish slang that I knew nothing about, but was curious because it had come up. Thank you.
No worries.
Awesome. So John is there at the place. And you guys can ask John questions.
Give me a sec.
Not a problem.
A 13 on a first impression, and go ask him a few questions just to.
How sober is the man look right now?
Yeah.
John is actually
See.
sober. Slightly hungover, but sober.
16, 21.
And
And a 26 on
River,
conversation to make time with him.
nice. River, give me an awareness.
You can see how this guy holds himself whenever he's an absolute gun nut. He's gun mad, he is.
I got a 13.
So, River, you do notice that his eyes lit to you. Even though Morgana's being very charming, right? Very posh Morgana-like. His eyes light up to you, though. Not that he's impolite to Morgana, but
I guess Morgana's just not his type.
I'll say something along the line like, you lot are new here. But he'll try to smile in a short bow and try to, like, kiss over, not technically kissing the hand, but kiss over River's hand.
I'm not going to put words in your mouth, Andy, but I can just hear in my head what this guy would say, and I'll keep it at that.
Nope, I want to hear it.
What's that?
I want to hear it. Your Scottish accent's so much better than mine.
Well, I mean, there may or may not be a reason for that. I mean, he'd probably say something like, "Oh, I've no seen any urine here before."
There you go.
Who are you supposed to be? Like that.
All right, that's what he says. And if he knew what an Aquarius was, Drew, he might ask.
Excellent.
All right. And what do you guys have to say?
Morgana will ask him a few polite questions about Louis. Though, you know.
Rests his soul, crosses himself. General first impression, he says something like he was a good drinking buddy.
Oh, I will step in quietly. Sorry to bother you. So, how long did you know Louis for?
The entire 6-7 years he's worked here? 8? Oh my gosh, was it been 8 years? Yeah, I mean,
Quite a
I
long
was
time.
a floor sweep. I was
He
a
wasn't
floor sweep when I started.
He wasn't acting strangely at all up until, well, you know.
I
Was
mean,
he?
not for Louis. Not until those last few weeks. Couple months. But
What
I mean,
happened in the
Louis was
last few
Louis.
weeks?
Well, that's when he started getting sick, and he told me all about how, well, the boss's daughter was poisoning him.
Oh, wow. He told you that?
Yeah. Said she was crazy in love with them, and that they'd had a spat, and that, you know, he was
I
positive she was poisoning him.
don't
I
suppose he
said,
went
why
into
did you
what...
go out and meet her again? I mean, heck, I've been out with them when she snuck out before. I mean,
Did
that
he,
was ages ago, but
did he mention what the spat was about?
her family wanted her to marry somebody else. I think it, you know, Louis has a way of making it make sense at the time, but when you really think about it, sometimes it doesn't make as much sense.
And where was it they went when they went out then?
Oh, I mean, we've gone to a couple of after hours clubs back in the day. Like I said, I haven't been out with them together in a long time. I mean, if it's just us guys, we just go down to, and he basically lists off some pub that's, you guys probably even walk by on your way here. It's a couple of blocks away. But that's not the type of place you would take a lady. Any lady, really. And
I
we
bet.
like the ladies.
Have there been any new ladies recently? Anyone else to cause?
Like, I mean, between the two of us, I'm pretty sure he had something going with the landlady. And possibly that one friend of his, but maybe not. Could never
Nancy?
tell with that one. Yeah, Nancy. I could never tell. Sometimes I thought they were just friends, and sometimes I thought maybe. I mean, it's Louis. Maybe he was stringing her along in case things didn't work out with him, the boss. I mean, the landlady, that I'm pretty sure he just. I mean, in case he didn't have bill money. But I don't think there's any new people. He was pretty serious about going to marry the boss's daughter.
He was pretty serious about that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's almost as serious as about never mind. And he basically like grabs some like I don't know, some sort of equivalent to throwing salt over his shoulder, don't speak ill of the dead type of thing. Something superstitious.
It's not speaking ill if it is the truth.
It is if they didn't want it talked about.
If he didn't want it talked about, why did he do it?
People do crazy things, miss. Let's just say, not to say, but this wasn't his first engagement.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, not to speak ill. But that went about how I thought this was going to go. Matter of fact, if he didn't poison him, I'd have thought, never mind.
You seem to be stopping and starting a lot. If you're going to say something, telling us would probably be best. You're not really speaking ill of anyone. We're at the very least trying to just prove the truth of what happened. That's all.
I'm going to quietly whisper in River's ear if I've noticed that he seems to like River, that maybe she should ask him in confidence.
Turn on the charm, River.
If I can flirt on River's behalf, I will. Act as the friend trying to get them together, passing notes in class or something. I don't know.
No. Come on. We got to put this in River terms. Shoot your shot.
We didn't mean literally, River.
We will absolutely keep your confidence. We just need to know who this other person is to make sure that an innocent woman is not done harm. And think for yourself. What would happen to the business and your job if it is proven that Miss Carter did these things? Do you think the reputation of the business would hold up?
And Louis as well. His soul will rest easier knowing justice has been served. If
I'll give you a name, but I'm not going to say anything else about that. Blair Anderson.
Blair Anderson. All right.
sounds like a witch to me. That's out of character.
Look, I don't know all of it. I know bits and pieces of it. It was about the time I met him, but that's all I'm going to say. Now, unless I can buy you a drink after work, I probably better get back to work. I'm trying to see if maybe if I put a little more effort in and I make it most days, maybe I can move up too. I mean, I don't want to be, no offense to Louis, cross, make the sign, but I'd like to move up with the company and not just be moving boxes my whole life.
That is a very noble goal.
Sure you don't want dinner?
Dinner with him.
I'll
Get the information.
yes. So I think I have the lowest charisma of all of us.
Clearly not. He does not care about that.
He likes you.
He likes women of that caliber.
Aha.
Or
22.
I thought River was younger than that, but
Oh, she's younger than that, but it's her favorite caliber. Because I don't think the 30-06 is around yet. What would be a good place to eat around here?
If I were taking you, or if you were just going to dinner?
If you were taking me.
He mentioned some restaurant. You're not from the area, you wouldn't have heard of it. I get off at 5. I can meet you there by 5:30.
I think I'll just take a step out. This looks like a
yeah,
conversation for the two of you.
Morgana will politely withdraw, but
Suddenly, River
otherwise,
looks
Morgana,
around, and everybody else has absconded away.
Morgana's probably within enough distance to nod at her encouragingly, in that way you do with friends.
That
Weymont
would sound lovely.
will be peeking around a barrel, giving her a thumbs up.
And suddenly we're all back at school.
How do you get to it from here?
He'll give you the address and directions.
All right. I shall meet you then.
He smiles and then says something like, he can't wait to meet you either. Or see you there, something like that. Yes, I'm sure there's a library in St. Andrews, and there's a good chance it would have aristocracy lineage books. That seems to be something that was kept record of.
The library was founded in 1662.
So, like I said, that sounds like something that's feasibly there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it actually, I think it just had a update, or it's about to get updated.
In game or in real life?
In game. Its last update was in from 2011 to 2017 or 2017. But it got an update. I can't remember. I just looked at it, but
All right. Well, I'm sure there's a library. I'm sure it has those things. What else?
St. Andrews does have a very big university because it's Scotland's oldest one. Like 1400s
What's next, people?
old.
That's old. What's next, people?
Why don't we go and have a look at his apartment, and we can check in on River later when she's got the deeds.
Before we
She's
leave
got
the
time to doll
warehouse,
up her.
before we leave the warehouse, did he have like a locker or anything?
No.
Okay, then yeah.
And does Titania does River need to borrow any clothes or anything for her dinner?
Maybe.
I mean, is River going to show up to her dinner in a dress, or is it going to be as Paul Bunyan?
oh, she'll be wearing her
And just
leathers.
River hit Weymont on her way out.
I mean, totally legit.
River's less Paul Bunyan and more girl who's run away and is pretending to be the groom. To be a boy to work as a groom in a stable rather than Paul Bunyan, I think.
That's
not
fair.
that-
I can see that.
Well, no, she's just an explorer because she doesn't want to work in the stables. She did that growing up.
Yeah, I was not saying that she wants to work in stables. I was more saying that her fashion choices are the girl who's run away to pretend to be the groom working at the stables.
Practical clothing for exploring. Dresses get in the way.
True. Not that
Hashtag
Morgana's
not
going to lecture. Morgana's not going to lecture anyone on wearing dresses, given she is aware of a scandalous wearer of trousers. At any point where she thinks she might get into a fight, which, given she hangs around with River, is quite a lot.
Mean.
More particularly, she did it before she knew me at River anyway, so it's not just River.
Alrighty. Nothing else here. You guys want to go to his apartment, his room,
yes,
rented
yeah,
room. Okay.
his
It's not
lodgings.
terrifyingly far. Sorry.
Actually, on the way to the apartment, I would like to suggest we stop by a chemist. You can detect arsenic by mixing different liquids and powders to see if there's traces on dishes and that sort of thing. I think it might be useful and prudent
Do
to
either
check
of our
out the
mages
apartment in that way.
Do either of our mages have chemistry, alchemy to be able to know how to do what they're doing with that?
Also, he's been dead like a month.
Yeah,
but
but
the
heavy
chemist,
metals do take. Heavy
Yeah.
metals take forever to go. Heavy metals are for forever.
Yes, but that's
I think
assuming
it's
they haven't
worth a
been
question.
washed since then.
Yeah.
yeah, there could be traces in the apartment. I just think something like that might be handy. If you don't want to do it, great. It just occurred to me.
I'm not, not saying we can't. That's totally fine. Just we may not find much.
It depends whether they've rented his room out again. They might be keeping it as a shrine if they liked him that much.
Yeah, I just thought I would give a bonus on an evidence analysis test.
So we're picking one up?
I think it's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
So because that is a thing, my question would be: would anybody know how to use it, and how common is it to get a hold of? That feels like something. Not
That should be the alchemist, that's not a Mac thing. That's a alchemist question.
Yeah. I expect if anyone has alchemy in this party, it's one of the two mages.
I have
If not-
physician. I don't have chemistry
Yeah.
or alchemy for that matter. I have knowledge physics or natural philosophy.
I'm finding a lot of modern stuff, but I'm not finding.
The marsh test.
Let's take a look.
1836, apparently.
The
Yeah.
reference that I remember seeing to
First
arsenic was in a different.
published method.
It was in a
But-
role-playing game, and it was a quality control thing that was done in actually the manufacture of some of those cosmetics and other cures. They wanted to make sure they had enough of the right chemicals in the mix, and they would test it. So it's been around a while, but I don't know the details. I don't remember that part of the game.
1836 was the first published. There's some earlier things, like in 1787, they found that if it was heated in the presence of carbon, it would slime. The question would be, is that this doesn't look like an easy, I rub a Q-tip on something and then I know. This looks like something that you have to know what you're doing to do.
Fair enough.
Let's see, 1832, when a certain John Bottle was brought to trial for poisoning his grandfather. Standard test by passing hydrogen sulfide through suspect fluid.
And detecting stuff for poisoning, maybe I could do with the physician.
I would say it's adjacent. You could try. I don't know that you'd have enough trace to catch anything, because this is detecting it in a fluid. So if it's just the traces that were left on a cup a month later, I don't know if that would be good enough.
I can give it a try, but not promising any results.
Adding a sample of body tissue to, so because this is how they found out that he had arsenic in him, pretty much is what it sounds like. So let's go with the doctor test to see if you would even, either of you would even know how to do, like, that this is a thing. And then we can check and see if you can do it. Because getting a hold of the stuff could take some time to find, but yeah, you should be able to get a hold of it. And if there's a school there, it'll make it easier. You should be able to go down to the school chemistry area and buy all of the piece parts you need.
So you want me to roll a physician roll just to see?
Both of you, to see if either of you gets high enough that you would be like, I know how to do that test.
$27.
Okay. Mac.
I'm almost reluctant to increase my
Yeah,
physician
I'm sorry.
skill now because I got
Do
a
you want me to roll a
Your
2d8.
physician?
medicine, your physicians.
Yeah, I can do that. Hang on a second. Let me make sure I'm in the right rolling the right dice here. I have position, first aid, step 7 to D12. So doop, and add a D12. And I got a 6.
So we will say that you've heard that there is a thing, but you're not sure how. Nigel, you think you could do it, but you'll be honest with yourself. This is not your specialty.
Well,
Okay,
my
let's
And
skip it
specialty
and
you
move
is
also
on.
my
know
specialty
that,
isn't medicine in the first place, so
right. You will also know that it can give a false positive with something called antimony, SB. But you think, given the right equipment, you could try this. You need heat, you need sodium hypochlorite, you need bismuth, ammonium polysulfide or something. You need some chemicals in a heat source and some vials and possibly some tubing. But you do believe you could put this together. And you will also know with that you could get all of that stuff at the university. What do you guys want to do?
well, I
Since
think
we're not very good at that, let's just go to the lodgings.
I'm not saying no.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to skip it and just go to the lodging?
Yeah.
I'm not sure we've got the right skill set to do that, and collecting an appropriate sample might be tricky as well.
Okay.
well, let's go there first, and if we have something where we can pull a sample, then we can get the stuff together.
Yeah, that's a reasonable plan.
All right. His lodging is probably about 8 or so blocks away and away from the harbor. I made that a mess. It seems to be a relatively smaller house, stacked nice and neat and next to another kind of brickwork row of housing. It seems to be in kind of a rundown shape like a lot of the houses in this neighborhood. You knock on the door and probably in her mid to late 40s, possibly early 50s, but you're not sure she's that well preserved. Lady answers the door in a pretty simple day gown. Looks like she might have been cleaning something or cooking. She's got an apron on. She kind of pushes a lock of hair out of her face as she answers the door. How can I help you?
What time of day is it?
I would say it's probably mid-afternoon, early
Good
afternoon.
afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Morgana Temple Whitworth. We are investigating the unfortunate death of Mr. Louis de Valois.
And she basically makes the sign of a cross and says something like, "Bless his soul." Police have already been here.
We are asking further questions because we're the sort of people who ask the questions the police sometimes forget.
Are you here to make sure that girl pays?
We are here to make sure that the guilty party pays.
Well, that'd be her. And she opens the door to let you in. You guys all come in. She doesn't bother to offer tea or anything.
Oh.
She just basically wants to know, well, what can I answer for you?
Well, have you rented out his rooms to anyone else since, or?
Yeah. Just got someone last week. I had to reduce the rent a lot to get someone in, though. Although, I mean, maybe this one will pay.
Do you still have any of
All the
his effects?
You're not with the police?
No.
Like, we're a private investigative service.
Yes.
I have a couple of things, but most of it I sold. He owed me a lot of back rent. She'll kind of beckon you down and she'll go down into like a cellar and she'll have a box in the cellar.
While she's leading us there, I'll ask her if she was just renting rooms, or was it food and room and board? Was she also providing food?
She did quite often.
Yeah.
And she'll say, because I mean, he's a poor bachelor. It's not like he knows how to cook.
Morgana will smile. I'd find the rich bachelors are even worse in my experience. And then we'll try and get some sound her out for impressions of him, other than being bad at paying rent. How was he as a tenant? And just sort of trying to get her general opinion. I will get a 13 on the first impressions. And a 25 in a conversation.
Okay. Once. All right. Oh, well. Watch me put everything in the wrong order. That's the end of the box.
But while she's not voicing it out loud, Morgana is, what's the word? Suspicious, because the landlady quite possibly had motive and has an awful lot of opportunity.
All right. So, sorry. You had rolls and then you asked a question to which I will. All right. Mac looks away from the collection of men's undies, she said. Oh, goodness. Building security role. As far as you can tell, he apparently lived up on the second story. It's a brick building, so it's not that hard to scale up to get to a window. There's obviously a back door in an alley. It doesn't look like the locks are any great thing on the front door that you saw. There seems to be at least one other tenant upstairs who's an elderly gentleman who you can hear like the cane as he's walking and hitting the ground. on occasion when you're on the main floor?
Oh, busybody town, old man busybody. That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, there's an old man busybody up there. Now, and what were your roles, Morgana?
13 on a first impression and 25 on a 24 on a conversation.
Okay. And what did you ask?
Asking if basically trying to get her impressions of him as a person, what he was like other than bad at paying rent.
Oh, he was the nicest man. Oh, and his accent. He could say almost anything if you want to listen. He just had the worst luck, though. Like, the boss's daughter latching onto him, and he couldn't get away from her because if he hurt her feelings, then he could lose his job. You know, he'd have to, like, go and take her places that he couldn't really afford, and then he'd fall behind on the rent. And really, he didn't like younger girls like that. He liked a more mature woman who could hold conversations with, not vapid young things. Did you know that he was a minor French aristocrat down on the slough?
I had heard some stories, but some cynical people seem to consider that some sort of a lie he was telling. But I presume he was always an honest man with you.
Oh, very much so. She knew all about everything. Matter of fact, that night before he died, he came to me and he told me he was going to be out late and that he needed the house key so that he could come in without waking me. Can you imagine a man who's being poisoned by that trollop, but still takes the time to make sure that he doesn't have to wake me in the middle of the night when he comes home late?
Were there other women?
Oh, I mean, he has that one friend, but again, not really his type.
15 on
No,
empathic
really,
sense
I
during
know where
this.
his affections truly were.
Yeah.
And she gets a little kind of teary-eyed. You know, if it hadn't been for that hussy, they might have. It's just so sad. You know, she's been so lonely since her husband left that it was just such a breath of fresh air to have someone as considerate. It's just nice to have a man about the house. You understand, right?
Smile. I'm not sure I've learned that one as yet. I'm
Speaking of man about the
still
house,
young.
did he happen to have friends over very often? Other young
Oh,
gentlemen
not
at all?
terribly often. I mean, that little something or other had been over a few times. He has one friend who's been over a few times. She's even called the doctor, Nancy Tot. He's got several guy friends that come over. She's heard the names John, Paul, and Irving. She thinks that sometimes they played cards upstairs. Now, she doesn't usually hang around when men are being men like that, but occasionally he'd let her know and she'd make something special for his friends.
Did he tend to win at cards? Do you know?
No, he wasn't particularly talented at cards. But she didn't think that they had big sums of money. As far as she knows, they all work down at that warehouse.
I'm sorry, Andy, I was updating notes here. You said John and Paul. Who was the other one?
John Paul Irving.
There was no mention of an Irving earlier in any of our notes. What is his
That's
deal?
true.
Yeah.
Well, you can ask her.
Did Irving work at the warehouse?
She thinks so, but not on the floor. She thinks he had she thinks he's some sort of secretary.
You know what he looked like? We haven't seen. If you can remember, that would be very helpful.
Balding, pudgy.
The heavyset manager get that we met earlier?
Could be him from the sounds of it.
But he went by Irving when he visited. Interesting.
But she
Given
really
his
only had
intentions, he
eyes
probably would
for
have used
Louis.
both. Yeah.
Did you happen to hear the name Blair Anderson come up at all?
That wretched, evil woman. When he first moved in, he told her all about that vile witch. She took his fragile heart and she crushed it, and it nearly killed poor Louis. He was so distraught when she ended their engagement that he did the unthinkable, or at least tried to.
Tragic.
Exceptionally. Can you imagine a man who loves so deeply? He was like a wounded bird.
Did he ever tell you why she ended it, or was it just out of cruelty and spite on her part?
I mean, obviously she's evil, but most likely it was for money. She's one of those, and she says this no offense in the way that we all know it's an offense, but one of you wealthy types. And poor Louis, since his family disowned him, wasn't wealthy enough for her. So when she found somebody who was of the same class, and she says class like it's dirty. She says it like it's dirty.
Mac,
She
while they're
didn't drop
talking,
him.
while they're talking, Mac would like to pull Morgana to the back a little bit and whisper something to her. Are you there, Morgana?
Yep.
Mac will point to the ugly girl papers, and then remembering the picture we've seen of Louis from before, do you think it was a woman disguised as a man?
Maybe, or I have some thoughts. He might have been putting ideas in Amelia's head that makes her look guilty.
I am starting to wonder why
He's
it is
got
that
a,
everybody. Yeah, I am
Can
starting
I
to
make a
wonder why it is.
suggestion?
Yes.
Someone might try reading the article.
Yep.
I was about to say,
Yep.
I am starting to wonder
Mhm.
why it is that everybody seems to think that they know what this guy liked.
Because he's a veritable charmer. And he convinces everybody that they're what he likes. That's how people work.
Or he's like our good friend from the jewel thief.
The cad.
Yes.
All right. Any questions?
Yes,
No, yeah.
doing. Hang on.
Yeah, having a look at the article and, well, letting other people do that, and I'll keep the lady talking. Again, I take it we're getting he was very good at winning her affections, but she doesn't seem to have sort of any hidden underlying schemes of jealousy and anger about him.
No,
No.
but again, it's a very different tale of what he seems to like.
Yes, yeah. But given that what she seems to like, she thinks he seemed to like was her, that just means the gentleman in question was a charmer. If the rest of the party need it, Morgana has enough flirting skill, and she might be able to demonstrate the techniques on each of them, though that might turn August at least into a beetroot.
As for
Leave me out of
similarities to a certain other person, so far, and you might want to do more looking in the astral, but you've not seen anything that hints of magic.
Well,
And
I'll have a
also
look in the astral, of course.
not to be totally mean to the NPCs, all of them seem to be desperate in their own mind, or at least the ones he charmed.
Yeah, none of them seem lonely, abandoned landlady and closeted gentlemen in middle management. Unfortunately, are putting them in they're all easy to manipulate.
Young
Which
girl
appears to
who's not been young, unworldly girl who's, a decade plus his junior.
Yeah, he is targeting vulnerable people rather than making them vulnerable. The jewel thief, the ladies he influenced in question were much less notably vulnerable. He was also quite charming. Morgana admits.
He could be very much.
I have popped a thing in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, ma'am, I'll go look.
Because I presume while we're talking,
Right.
August is getting down to business examining stuff.
So this is an article that talks a lot about using different beauty things, including arsenic. And there's a very long section on how arsenic is used for not just skin, but for other beauty things. And there's a point in there that they make very clear that if you are using arsenic, that you should write a letter letting people know that you use arsenic and keep it someplace safe in case something does happen to you and you overuse accidentally or there's a mishap. Because it has happened where someone could be accused of killing them, poisoning, when it is a simple matter of arsenic being used poorly, improperly, getting the wrong grade, whatever.
Okay. As ever, August will make notes in his little notebook. And when we're not in company, shall we say, we'll share said notes.
Did anyone search his suits and stuff for letters or stuff tucked away? Or did the landlady keep any letters or papers he had?
I think this box that we got is all she kept.
I will ask the landlady, yes, did she have any letters? He had, we were told, there were letters mentioned in the press. Do you know who gave them to the press?
Well, she knows that the police have the letters. But I kind of think you guys need like a perception, awareness, something like that.
Empathic sense, if we're dealing with...
Empathic sense would be great too, yes.
Marvelous. Ooh,
I think you can figure out kind of where that one's going. Going to go.
Given I've got the ticks, I'm going to put it up. What? I was needing sword fights to level up, but hey. 14 for Morgana empathic sense.
19 on empathic sense.
August just likes to show you up.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
You
can't talk to people for toffee, but
He could read them. And yeah, it's perfectly reasonable from show Morgana once in a while, since her current major hobby is making him turn red.
Yeah.
It's probably
Wait a
fair.
minute. I just learned a new phrase. You can't talk to him for toffee?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
What is that?
Coffee sticky and it closes your mouth. So
Well,
Yeah,
I
you
make
know.
toffee. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing as for love nor money.
Yeah. It's you
Yeah.
just can't do the thing. Even if someone offers you toffee, you still can't do it.
So-
and we'll do a lot of things for toffee in this country.
both of you
Apparently.
with empathic sense feel like she is maybe hiding something on the subject of those letters.
Morgana will smile at her.
Sorry, you cut out.
Sorry, I was shy. I was trying to choose words as well, so I should. Probably raise eyebrows, exchange a glance with August, because I know he is good at reading people, and then quietly say, ask for a quick word in confidence and take her off to one side and quietly ask her if, given how much rent he clearly owed her, did he get some of that back by passing letters on to the press? She completely understands, and it's not, and it's not seeking to blame her for anything.
He seems absolutely and completely. How dare you? I would never sell Louis' letters to the press. What type of person do you think I am?
Yeah.
Louis cared deeply for me, and I did for him.
I'm sorry. Do you know of someone who might have been here, who might have had access to them and sent them to the press? Somebody did, and I think it's done Louis a terrible disservice.
Probably one of those cops. You know they're not paid well.
No, terribly so. It is a scandal.
August. You
Yeah.
still feel like she's holding out.
I will have tried to put myself so I can, see August and she can't.
But you will also notice that she doesn't care as much for Morgana as a whole. She's made several comments about class and wealthy people, and she is absolutely affronted that someone would think that she sold Louis' letters.
I think it's probably best if we leave her in peace.
course.
If you think of
Sorry.
anything, my good lady, do come and find us and let us know.
Well, you're a nice young man. If you need a place to stay, you let me know. I'm sure I can find your room.
Thank you. Shall
And
we?
with that, you guys leave.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave it there, I think, tonight. Good game.
Thank you.
Don't ruin it with chocolate. It was perfect before the chocolate drew. Just saying. Totally toffee. Toffee, yes. Chocolate, no. Those look beautiful.
But it's turtle toffee.
No toffee. No chocolate. All right. I think we're all supposed to say goodbye so that Brad can end the
Yep.
Well, do we want to cover
Agreed.
APs real quick before we sign off the stream?
Do I need to do that? Why you make me do my job?
We'll just ask for double next time if you don't give us it now. Just saying.
Ooh. Well, then.
Well, unless you have things you need to
300.
raise.
300 AP.
Hooray!
Thank you.
All right. We'll also want to figure the next time when we're meeting, but if we want to do that off the stream, I can close
Yes,
out.
let's do that off the stream.
Okay, well, I will close that out. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. We actually had some chats going on, and we got a subscription on Twitch. So I didn't get to announce it at the time because we were in the middle of dialogue. But
wait. 1 second. Thank you to whoever subscribed. There, I'm done.
Hey, viewers!
Yay!
I did put a thank you in the chat for it at the time, so we got that. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we will see you in the next one.